What is up, y'all? It's your boy Aniki coming at you with season 4. That means we've already been doing this for 3 years. The live streams have been going. Episode 1, Church of MHA, My Hero Academia, chapter 377 live reaction. Glad to see y'all in this new year. Happy New Year to you all. I want to make sure everybody has a great time. It's been a while. Haven't seen you all since last year. I'm sorry, that was terrible, but I had to get it out of my system. Jalen Baxley and Tiger Blaster. And I know the chapter came out Friday, but I decided to keep it on this day for convenience sake. I know sometimes when I do the Friday streams and it's at night, some people are like, yeah, this fits my schedule better. And then a lot of people are also like, whoops, I missed it. And so I just wanted to give everybody the standard is easier to meet than the variants. And then let's make sure we get everybody in here. So let's see, we got Joseph Shola, Kurt Pookie. So there's one thing that I did kind of get lightly spoiled on because people started mentioning somebody coming back and they weren't using their names, which is partially how they got around the filter, which, man, y'all really got to just start saying what you mean and hashtagging the stuff, please. Y'all be killing me with this one. It's like I don't know if folks do it on purpose or not, but it feels like people are really adept at like bypassing filters just by saying things the wrong way. Like when people go, oh, this character's name, and then they add like 8 A's to it. So it's like, how was I supposed to stop myself from seeing this? I didn't know you was gonna add 8 A's. Like I gotta guess how you gonna spell it too now. Come on, y'all. But no, not too worried about it. Just had to be honest about that. So there's a part that you might be expecting me to be more surprised at, and I'm not as surprised as you would have liked. That's why. Just wanted to be transparent on that one. I don't even know if like people were 100% accurate in how they were talking about it, because every now and then that happens too, where somebody says something kind of spoilery, and then they don't even go down like how they said it. Like I remember somebody was like, "Well, the frog's dead," and I was like, "Well, thanks. The frog's dead. Frog wasn't dead." So okay, the baby. So every now and then it don't even be mattering. Like folks be saying stuff. Like I know somebody was taking shots at Vulcan. They were like, huh, looks like Oliver Wood is gonna hurt that character. That guy, that one Twitter user is wrong. And nothing happened over the Rocket last chapter, at least. So that was tragic on their part, because you bumping your gums, taking shots at the homie, only for the homie to be totally fine, at least as of last week. In addition to that, Thomas is officially a bishop, so go ahead and give him his congratulations. Anybody who's here in the chat remembers Thomas. He's officially one of the bishops of the team. In addition to that, that means he has mod powers in the Discord server, and he's been looking forward to coordinating some events. So might see some more of that happening. Buried Alive Game, aka my boy Ryan, in the chat. Thank you for not spoiling me on Friday. Sorry I couldn't be at your birthday party, but you understand. When stalkers come in, we move out. Let's see. All right, Tyler Hawk, Trippy Manga. Why not? Not. Let me start the chapter, because I've waited 2 weeks for this. I've earned this chapter. And yep, we're on another Shonen Jump break for 2 weeks. Will this be the time I finally get back to it and give y'all something in the gap week? We're gonna try, but I cannot promise you. All right, let me pull this up. Number 377, The Change Thus Far by Kohei Horikoshi. As the heroes withered, the villains arrived. Due to the gap in power, achieving victory through standard tactics was as unlikely as grabbing hold of a thin, fleeting thread. Instead, the heroes strategized to divide their foes and claim the advantage, but a raging tempest began to blow. Okay. Yes, all of Shonen Jump is on another 2-week break after this. So, man, Frank Ocean. All right, I gotta step up. I can't be Frank Ocean. Let's see. All right. In the blow. All right. Yamada. That means, and then twice is on the battlefield. Attack. Oh, snap. All right, this is perfect. This is perfect. So twice has managed to maul Monoma, which, since they're in contact with him, though, then again, it's not his DNA. But let's see. Maybe he'll make a bunch of Monomas. That could switch things up. Yo. And out of the hole in the chest comes another life. Oh man, look at that background. Okay. Both Hori and Gege were kind of on demon time this week with the horror faces here, I see. Because you and notice how the backdrop kind of looks like an alien coming out, because it looks like so what up, Malik? Let's see. All right. Below that, a UA campus. A power line has busted. I can't pop in a spare. The corners we cut for the super rush job are coming back to bite us. What's left is holding us up, but output isn't stellar. What about the electromagnetic barrier? This is Mandalay. We've lost flight control. I repeat, we've lost flight control. Oh boy. At last, I'm in. Prepare for your downfall, heroes. What's more, the control center island is under attack, and Phantom Thief is no longer able to perform his role. Erasure is no longer active. The deadliest villain of all is about to be unleashed. Once UA falls, all of Japan, no. It's Kurogiri. What happened at Central Hospital? The business course kids still recording. So I'll give him props for that, still recording. We see Shigaraki back closer to his base form. The Twice army is overwhelming. So now we got to see how this goes now, because this is looking spicy. And I see a page 14, which means this is another short chapter, which I'm hurt by. Oh, I'm a robot. Oh, snap. Let's see. All right. Am I still roboting? Okay. So you missed a chunk. My bad. I was reading the chapter. Woo. Want me to go back, or we trusting that we're on page 13, and you guys already know what read happened anyway, because everybody in here always reads before me. Because I'll go back if people are reading with me. Hey, look. Okay. So, and yeah, there's a chance Bakugo's body just got ragdolled. I won't lie. Actually, there's a chance, realistically, everybody just got ragdolled. The electromagnetic barrier collapsing, all that other stuff. Okay. The entire world. What's tearing away? Is he shedding skin? He's not moving. Yo. What's tearing away? Is he shedding skin? He's not moving. What if I told you that it's me here now? What would you want to do? Sit down for a chat at the mall? The entire world will be destroyed by his hands. Ain't happening, hero. After all, I am your villain. That's the Shigaraki persona. Naturally, UA system was doomed to fall to my skills. Even their subterranean evacuation system is putty in my hands now. Oh, joy. That thing we talked about on stream a while ago, multiple times. Oh, the thing that I said, I think that might have been the part where I was discussing the issue with the fact that it was a low page count, because I could see at the bottom the page numbering, but and the fact that I mentioned that the background for Shigaraki busting out of his body looked like an alien coming out of the stomach, like a reference to the classic Alien films and the immersion. So, yeah, I'm not saying that that has to be space, but hey, Solo Me, take care of yourself, man. I hope you got a roommate, partner, living with your family, somebody, because that stuff sucks. I hated having COVID. It was also like my first time being sick for real in like 4 or 5 years, so that didn't help. But take care of yourself. Try to relax as much as possible. We wish you the best, man. Let's see. That's the Shigaraki persona. But yeah, we've talked about this. There's dissenters in the bottom. There has to be, like, Skeptic isn't just here to do central command talking points, run communications. He's going to play a bigger role. Hell, his quirk was showcased to be honestly as dangerous as Twice if it was utilized correctly. So here we are. Ignorant masters and heroes who cling to their old ways will perish in the name of liberation. If the school comes crashing down, Yaoyorozu and everyone below are doomed. I've got to keep UA in the air, and at the same time, I need to keep an eye on Kurogiri so that Shigaraki can't escape. Crap, it's all too much. I can't breathe. I need air. The blowback from the powered Gearshift quirks. When my cells don't get a second to rest, my body can't get enough oxygen. I said you can't fall just yet. However, there's a silver lining to this dark cloud. All for One is having serious problems keeping those identities unified. Those of us within One for All resonate with All for One, so we can peer into each other's inner workings. At this moment, it seems he's in no position to manipulate the flesh he's possessing. Do whatever it takes to make your own body act even 1 second faster. The chain of events leading to this moment will be your power. Found you. It took a while, but you finally showed yourself. Hunting you down was no walk in the park, huh? But nothing's too much for me, because this is all for Gentle's sake. Former crime crip uploader villain La Brava. Now, this is the character that I got spoiled on because somebody added 8 A's to her name. But all the same, it is also a theory come true. So it's not as egregious as it could have been, because this is something that we've all technically, or at least everybody here, has at least been around for a discussion on at least once or twice, of how Skeptic versus La Brava would be the matchup during this war, because we needed to bring her back. Let's see. Let me go ahead and get these bishops in here, or anybody who wants to come in here, or any of the homies that's trying to be here, I should say, within reason. Oh, all right, Zone. Play me like that. Make me feel dumb. Copy invite link. Well, yeah. First off, let me pop back in and look at the chat. Like the stream, yes, please do. I'll try not to put pressure on you guys to like the stream. I do like when you do it though. It helps my channel out. Hey, Joseph Shiola coming through with the super chat hacker fight. Look, I'm very curious to see how Horikoshi decides to depict this, just because you can take any amount of directions. Like, obviously, in the real world, a hacker fight is just two people constantly typing in code and trying to arrest control of the systems. But in this case, there is a lot of potential for what they can do with this. And one of my favorite strategies that I'm thinking about now that would be kind of nice is if in the process of getting this hacking, Brava can connect to some of the business students' phones, then take that and live stream what is happening on a global scale after wresting control of Feel Good Inc. satellites. Because if we can get control of Feel Good Inc. satellites, broadcast that to the world, and have everybody around the world, just like Hadabi took over, use the villain playbook and have them watch Deku versus Shigaraki. There's Deku's I Am Here. There's Deku being the world's greatest hero, taking on the world's greatest threat. There's Deku also getting the platform to say what he thinks the change needs to be. Because if Deku manages to beat the Tenko out of Melvin, pull that little boy out and be like, look here, young blood, we got to find you a different path, or whatever the case is how they want to handle these split identities. Even though Tenko has proven himself to be the most dangerous this whole time. But getting that handled, man, you're right. Some of the Nomus have that too. So if we can get the Nomus under control, which might explain why we haven't had much emphasis on the Nomus being taken out, suddenly we got a huge shift in the battlefield. Because if you have Nomus that are taking out the villains, because the Nomus, they're not just better than the average hero, they're better than the average villain. It could backfire, and that's the thing, you got to take that risk. You got to take that risk. And the reason why you got to take that risk is because either one, you want everybody to have access to what the information of what Shigaraki can do so they can properly prepare for him if he decides to invade their country. Or, because the other thing is that what you'll have is a bunch of people wondering how it got this bad and why their governments let Japan be in the position that it's in right now. Because like you can have some people are going to be like, well, you know, like at least they're keeping us safe. But like, are you really keeping us safe? Because if you opted to not protect us and not try to bite this Shigaraki, like nip this Shigaraki thing in the bud, we now got to worry about him coming here. So all you did was delay the inevitable. Now he's gonna pull up and run our fades because you let the dude that can alter physics and stuff get murked because you was too scared to pull up. Nah, bro. You got us down bad now. Living our worst life. If Gentle pulls up, my stance on Gentle pulling up anywhere is going to be that it's going to be something that'll like alter the tide of at least one, like a singular fight or battlefield, and it's going to have a cascading effect. Gentle is going to get his chance to be a hero, whether it's via bouncing the building back into the air for a bit, which, hey, James Butterworth coming through with the super chat. James, I don't know if you've ever sent one before, but I appreciate it. Read the opening page a few times now, and did anyone else get Best Genius vibes from the person talking? I did. That did seem like the verbiage did come off as very Best Genius-esque, because almost anybody, the only person who usually references threads and all that other stuff is usually Best Genius. Threads of Hope, things like that tend to be tied directly to that character. And like, this is the guy who will be like, this is bad and worn out or evil and cursed, like badly made denim and stuff like that. So this does very much come off as Best Genius talking at the beginning. If you look at the state of the person's hands, they're extremely calloused. So this could be, because one of the things that, as the story goes on more, I feel a lot more validated in my theory, because it shouldn't even really be considered a theory. It's more like a hypothesis about the narrative, right? I've said before, and I think most of you guys will remember, I said that My Hero Academia as a manga is effectively a look back for Deku, which in case anybody's new here, because James Butterworth, you came through with that super chat. I don't know if I've seen your name in the chat before. I don't feel like I have, because you got a pretty memorable name. That's and Jason, that's where I you have some reservations about the bounce, just because it's like, that'll still people up. That'll still mess up some days. I don't know if that's the exact ideal way to execute on that, but I get why people speculate on it, and I can see that liberty being taken since these people are a bit more durable than the average bear, but still not exactly the ideal scenario. And yeah, exactly. And the power supply is so it's kind of like the most I could see is actually let me segue back. So when I talk about the look back special, my hero even starts with Deku basically talking about like, this is what was going on when I was like, 14, blah, blah, blah. And even if you think about the way a lot of the story is presented, the time slips are very natural. Like if you ask somebody to tell you, especially like somebody my age, to tell you about high school, it's going to be a lot different than when we were in high school and even right after graduation, right? I might have a couple stories for you from freshman year, skip ahead, and those stories might be months apart. Similarly, Deku's stories and the way he tells them, it very much goes, all right, I'm going to tell you about when I met All Might because that's important. This is how it all got started. I trained for 10 months because at the end of the day, his workout routine doesn't matter too much. But like he'll tell you some stuff, tell you about one of the important moments that he had with All Might during that working out session, how he was overdoing it, kind of acknowledge his character flaws and how he was executing upon that. Mention what was going on between him and Bakugo. Skip forward to exams. Like it covered like 10 months within the first like 3-4 chapters. And then he's like, okay, so battle training we know is a normal thing for them. But the only time we focus on it is like the very first battle training exercise when him and Bakugo go at it. He stands up to Bakugo. That's an important milestone in his life, standing up to his bully. Got to make sure you are aware of that. Cool. This is like the inspirational part of the documentary. Skip forward, because after that, it's like when we got attacked at the USJ and how that attack kind of got built up to it. Cool. Like, and then that's all season 1, but that's like, oh yeah, let me introduce you to the very beginning of like what's going on. And then you get to Sports Festival, the work study that came after Sports Festival, and then you're fast forwarding final exams. You cover it like 4 months. Like between like Sports Festival is implied to take place basically a month into the school year. Final exams is going to be at least 3 months in. Because it's like in trimesters, or it's not the semesters or trimesters, but I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be trimesters here. Especially because you got final exams towards like what is that, like June, July, and then because they're on summer break during August, so and then they come back around August, September, and then overhaul takes place in October. So you're basically getting like 1 or 2 things a month, if that. So we're constantly just bouncing. So and then notice the work study with Endeavor, we got like that very first time when they like synced up and managed to achieve the first goal that Endeavor set for them. Boom, we skipped it. Because from then on, the story is more of the same, so like Deku would be sitting there to an interviewer being like, oh yeah, we fought this dude and he tried to kidnap Natsuko. It was crazy, beat his ass, took his lunch money, saved all the people, and the rest of the time we was with Endeavor, it was just a lot of us working on our teamwork, facilitating better moves, combos, etc., being more efficient in how we execute on saving people and how we win against villains. So that's all Deku. So when we get that a look, like that's why we get that a look back vibe, because we're dealing with this. Hey, Mr. Andrew, where did All Might go? Wasn't he with Sukauchi? Did Hori forget to draw him, or did he go somewhere? So there's 3 answers to this question. There's 3 potential answers to this question. First one, he's in the same room. He's just off camera because the point was to emphasize Sukauchi and La Brava, and All Might wasn't needed for that shot. Answer 2. Hori forgot to draw him. Usually when a theory hinges on Hori forgetting, it ends up being wrong. Hori forgot the traitor. Hori forgot. So we're going to bypass that one just because. Theory number 3. All Might has an Iron Man suit. And the reason why I say this is because All Might got jumped by assassins. We don't know what was going on when he got jumped by those assassins. We know that he dropped the suitcase down, which would be a pretty good reference to it. We also know that there was a color page in which a Mecha All Might was being built. We know that he did have support gear in the form of an armor. So we could have, especially because of the fact that we know that there was a slight Condenium shortage, so that Mei Hatsume could not make the bracers the same way that she would have wanted to, or repair them the way she wanted to, I should say. So there's a chance that that Condenium was used on creating a suit for All Might to try to get back into the field and do combat, which would also allow for us, because a lot of people have been like, oh, we're past that point. It's been 5 to 6 years. All Might doesn't need to die. He's not a combatant, but it's important to remember that Night Eye's prediction, especially because of the fact that C6er, you remember the briefcase too. It's never ever been addressed. And why he made it a point to grab the suitcase instead of just getting out of the car. But Night Eye's predictions, and I've always said this, the inaccuracy in Night Eye seeing Deku die, I don't think his visions can account for rewind. That's a time-based anomaly, right? Like that goes beyond the scope of how things typically work. That's something totally different. That there's a power that messes with time right there. And more than likely, in my opinion, adult Eri is going to be on some crazy stuff. She might not fully have like the ability to just create time portals and go back in time, but she's gonna like have some abilities dealing with time. That's almost inevitable. Whether it's like a stasis bubble or who knows. But that not being seen, now what was specifically stated by Night Eye is that like you will die to a horrible villain, a villain he had not seen before. Because if it was All for One, he would have just said, you will die to All for One. He would have just said it, like, you're going to die to All for One. He would have just said, like, if you keep going on this path, and that means he would have seen a future where All for One is alive. He didn't recognize whoever the person was that was going to kill All Might. What's more, if it had just been Shigaraki post the USJ attack, he would have seen a Shigaraki. He would have been like, wait, that's the dude I saw that was going to kill All Might. Except Shigaraki's face at the time that the overhaul arc was not known to the masses. You see how that works? Like, he looked into the future up until that point, because when we get overhaul introduced and we get that arc, it's Kamino, where the mask starts to fall off, but he's already like the helicopter is way too high, can't actually see what's going on. Shigaraki had a mask on when they pulled up at the bar. So his face isn't public knowledge at that time. After the overall arc, face still isn't actually public knowledge. Shigaraki's face doesn't become public knowledge, like truly public knowledge, until what do you call it? PLW? Because even though they saw Shigaraki during the encounter, only Deku saw him, and Uraraka saw him, and they were able to give like an idea of what he looked like. But that's like a sketch is not the same as a guaranteed look like. So, and what Shigaraki looks like now at this juncture in the story with way longer hair, all this other stuff, still might not fully connect. So, All Might retired for a bit. And as long as All Might stays in retirement, he has no reason to die to this villain. Shigaraki's main goal is surpassing, destroying, and killing. One of his biggest goals has been surpassing, killing, and getting rid of All Might. Dabi was allowed to destroy All Might's statue, burn away a symbol of his legacy. Stain is basically saying, All Might, you're still here. We have to eventually get rid of this last piece of the previous era. And in this case, we don't see All Might. The odds of him actually being able to sit there and watch, because you got to think, All Might technically was enrolled in UA before he had One for All. Because he shows up in a UA uniform, like, unless I'm really misremembering this, which if I am, somebody please in the chat tell me I'm wrong. He had a UA uniform when he met Nana. So he was already on the track to try to be a hero. So in that case, remember your origin is one of the central things driving people through this story. And if All Might sits here and remembers, I tried to be a hero before I had a quirk, just like Deku, that's the same thing that made me give him this quirk. I'm going to go ahead and be a hero again. That thing that night I talked about, which is that people can do different actions which disrupt or delay the future he saw, but inevitably things always seem to come right back together like it was inevitable, then it's done. And thank you. Technically, we don't know what, because the quirkless population was a lot higher back in the day, so we don't know what their rules are throughout. That's one of the things that needs to be expounded on. But you guys are saying he was in a middle school uniform, so I'm going to trust that you're remembering this right, and I'm remembering it wrong. And yes, Sixer, he was trying to get active.
Hey.
Hey, welcome, Bishop Ponzu.
Oh man, it feels good to be back. I can tell you that. Wow, how are you doing, brother? Happy New Year. Best for you, your family, the new one who's coming. I'm really happy for you. I will say the best. We wish you the best to all of us, to all of you guys too in the chat. Thank you for still supporting my brother. I had some issues with my own, but yeah, I think I will be more present this year than last year. So yeah, I will be if I can still work with you, I will be happy.
Ponzu, you're always welcome. I always look. My philosophy is this: everybody has their own life, their own events, things that they got to deal with. And if you have stuff going on with family, if you have stuff going on with work, whatever the case is, even if it's personal relationships, if you need that time off to do stuff, then you go ahead and get to, you take that time and do what you got to do. This podcast is ultimately supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be a place where we get to talk to the community, get our ideas out. And I know you've been working on your own stories as well. This is supposed to just be a place where we enjoy ourselves and have a good conversation.
Thanks, man. Thanks, really. Thank you for the support and stuff. I know it's not easy to hold up a channel and everything. So I know how hard that you're working for different stuff, So yeah, that's why I'll be always glad. I'm always thankful to be part of what you're doing. Really, man. Thanks. But yeah.
So Ponzu, since you're back, let me hear, because you've been gone for a while. So let me get some of your thoughts on just MHA lately and this chapter.
Okay. Where should I start? So I was in a big part of what was happening, I was confused. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because I was not understanding where we were going. And the thing that I was reading was not exciting me. So it was really, I was in a kind of state of, okay, because everything what's happening online that it is the end of the manga and stuff. And for me, it didn't feel like an end. Everything was what was happening. And I didn't feel like, if it was the end, it didn't feel like a good end. So I was really waiting for certain stuff like Shigaraki coming back as a character on his own, and everything was like the Toya situation also, the Toga situation. But in the last few weeks, what was happening, like with the fact that we get Shirakumo wake up, doing his job as protector of Shigaraki and his allies, opening gates everywhere. It changed the whole narrative for me, the whole way of things are doing. Everything came back to life in My Hero Academia. I felt like I was, and so now I'm more excited. I still don't know where you're going, but I'm still excited for what is happening now because there is, it's not like we had the status quo was really irritating for me. Shigaraki is just after rewatching My Hero Academia, one of my favorite characters in My Hero Academia. For me, I was happy at the end of Bakugo because Bakugo was, the combination of that, the thing was beautiful for me, the way that he acted on Bakugo. So the fact that he tried to bring him back to life was quite difficult to digest because I really took my time to respecting what he was doing. So right now, I'm really happy with this last chapter. We see Shigaraki is back, that he's still alive as a character, even in the way that he's talking. So we don't have the ghost for one doing his stuff. Because I really was hating that ghost for one stuff in My Hero Academia. I understand what was the plan of All for One to have making a clone of himself of his quirk, I would say, because he is so absorbed by his quirk that his quirk became more than him, I will say like this. But I really didn't like the fact that Shigaraki that we were losing Shigaraki as a character. And the fact that we follow him, his character, through all the story, and that he was not the villain that Midoriya should face at the end was something that just that idea was repulsive for me. So right now we're seeing that the way that he came back by saying that you know that I am your villain. So I'm really happy that Horikoshi still knows that too. So I can say that I can trust the future. You know what I mean? That now I'm letting him cook. I'm not worried anymore about what he's cooking, but a big phase in the year, past year, I was not sure. I was confused. You know, just like seeing someone putting some when he's cooking, taking some stuff that you wouldn't put in a dinner, like in a dinner with chocolate. You put some chocolate, some stuff, and you're thinking to yourself, okay, man, what are you doing? But at the end, when you start to smell stuff, that you say, okay, the smelling is right. You know what? Let him cook. That's what is happening right now. So yeah, I'm really positive for this year. I hope that I don't know what will be what are my predictions, because right now I didn't even think, because for me right now it seems like a failure. Everything seems like a failure for the heroes and for All for One. So All for One. So I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting to see, like, because All for One right now is on the timer. He's trying to finish the product that is Shigaraki for him. Maybe because we still don't know. Maybe that he will try to fix the situation with Shigaraki, that she stays in control. Because we know that Ofon as a human still has that idea that he still has a warped way to care about people, I would say, for his brother. So maybe for Shigaraki, maybe, but I'm not sure. I'm really not sure, because the fact that his name, for me, it always was that he gave his own name to Shigaraki because he saw him as a projection of himself. So I'm waiting. So yeah, I'm positive right now. That's what I will say in general.
So,
and you, yeah.
First off, welcome, Bishop Thomas.
Welcome.
The second off, I actually wanted to zero in on that statement that you made about Shigaraki's emphasis of like, I am your villain. because I do think that's one of the best lines to actually come out of this entire section here, like for these past like 3 chapters.
Yes, yes, that's really. It felt good to read that line. I just read it and I felt relieved.
Because when Vestige for One got into play, and I understand you had to either be willing to let Hori cook or you had to be worried. Those are like basically your only 2 options. Because you spent the entire Rise of the Villain saga going, Shigaraki is the story's main villain. All for One is a fraud. He's getting thrown to the wayside. That's why these old men got put out to paint. That was, I the way I look at it, I believe that was everybody's consensus after Camino. And if it wasn't your thought after Camino, it was probably what you thought after Overhaul. Am I crazy, Thomas? Am I crazy, Ponzu?
No. There's a thing about the fact that even the speech that he gave at the end of Camino, that he said that he was letting Shigaraki growing him, so that the way that he was doing was the right way, comparing himself to All Might, that All Might should have died. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But even some people thought that he was one that All Might should have died at that moment to make Midoriya grow. And when you think about it, it's what a normal student would have done to kill the master at that moment. You know what I mean? That's what would have happened normally. So when you think about it, it's really, that's why the fact that we always were planted since the beginning that it was a story about successors fighting each other, like a line of 2 families fighting each other and sending their successors because they couldn't handle themselves. They are too old for this shit. But then you get the Vestige for One stuff, and it's the way that it came to control of the character of Shigaraki was really annoying. I like the fact that he was fighting against it, but I was expecting a lot more, to see more of the struggle. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But because at one moment we had the moment that Shigaraki said, it was at the end of the PLW, he said, like, yeah, you think that I will let you control myself? You think it's going to be easy, man? I'm telling you that I'm coming back for you. And I was waiting for that the whole time. And what we get is a fusion of the character. That's what he said against the number 1 hero, American hero, Star and Stripes. That he's a new character. So, okay, good. I can accept that because it kind of transcended humanity. Then we get literally a kind of monster of coming from Akira, with All for One controlling the stuff, talking like I am, and I just thought, I was from that moment I was thinking to myself, nah, that's not really what I want. It seems weird for me as a storyteller. That's the way that you're taking it right now. I can understand there is a struggle, but it felt like there was no struggle at all. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Well,
yes.
And that was one of the things that I think, which I agree with Tyler. I don't think it was necessarily a long route. I think it was a very detailed route for this. But my stance on it is that Shigaraki, so I want to emphasize this. One of the things that has consistently happened is that the heroes have always been on this competitive ladder. If you want to be the best hero, you need to get more saves. If you want to be the best hero, you gotta throw hands. If you want to be the best hero, you gotta, X, Y, and Z and move the crowd. So we've seen Shigaraki come up over multiple villains throughout the story. We watched him partner with Stain, then exploit Stain's clout to recruit for himself. We watched him partner with Overhaul, take his arms, take his tech, leave him on the side of the road, and come up off him. We watched him get challenged by the Liberation Army and exceed their expectations to the extent that they folded and he took them for himself. To a certain degree, when you look at the way that Shigaraki has moved throughout the entire series. He's always moved like all for one. Everything was for him. He was taking it. If you had it, he was a villain, and you wanted to be in close proximity, he's taking your shit. And you either get on board or you get out the way. And if you don't get out the way, you're dead. You get down or you lay down. CRC took them hoes out. Ain't no skin off our back though.
I still hate the anime for not putting them.
They finally did put them in. They just shifted where they're at, which it could help people because a lot of folks didn't keep up with like the number of microaggressions throughout the series, just like little stuff that seems not to be that big of a deal, but it's really just like mutants being used to people saying out-of-pocket stuff to them, so they just kind of roll past it. So this being a little closer to when we're going to get the stuff where they're like, she shouldn't have been out here looking like that. If she didn't want us to think she was a villain, it might help people like be like, oh, there's a little bit of discrimination up in this world, huh? Because a lot of folks apparently just didn't pay attention to that. And some of them, I'm just going to say that they're not the kind of people who actually have to deal with microaggressions a lot. So I hope that they factor that in when talking about it, but we'll see. I don't think a lot of them did. But that aside, when you look at the journey that Shigaraki was taking, he was always taking from others. And so it kind of makes sense that when he just tried to get like it, and the thing is, everything Shigaraki got up until he tried to inherit All for One. Until that moment, he fought tooth and nail to get it, or he strategized to get it. Overhaul came at Shigaraki like, oh, I'm like, this is how Shogi is more complicated than you think. You're not a good enough strategist. You don't know how to use your pieces. Woo. So what did he do? He out-strategized them, pincered them, and then caused him to lose all of his pieces just by trusting in the personalities of his subordinates, knowing that they would see the right opportunity and take him down or contribute to him falling, leading to him having the ability to get the drugs, get those over to the doctor. When he earned the loyalty of Makia, he earned the loyalty of the PLW or, the MLA. But so when it came time for him to get All for One, he didn't actually need it. That was the thing that was like Shigaraki already had an army. And while, yes, he was having some issues with, his arm like exploding because he overdid it the first time, ultimately, he was never going to have to fight to that scale again. Not in that way. And he could have taken some time instead of that 3 months being centered on being experimented on. If he had taken that time to just spend that 3 months to get practice, getting practice with Decay, especially because there's a small scene from MVA, which I don't know if it made it into the anime or not, where it looks like Shigaraki had a projectile and it's never been touched on again. But in fact, let me see if I can find it real quick. Just because it's one of the more interesting scenes that happens during the that fight
in the manga. Also, hi.
Hey, what up, Bishop Thomas?
Hey.
All right, I'm gonna try to find it real quick, just because it was.
Hey, Ponzu, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I'm at home with my brothers and sisters. I'm cooking for them. So
hey, that's great. I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah, so we are here, a family person. But yeah, and you, how are you doing? Last time that I read something from you, you were drunk.
I'm fine. This 2023 has been amazing. We had the start of Deku Black arc, my favorite arc, and we had this chapter, which brought back Shigaraki, which I'm happy about.
Yeah, man. When I'm not watching the anime at the moment because I'm really still scared to watch the season 5. Because it is, for me, my favorite arc is MVA. So I saw it as perfection in My Hero Academia. This was the arc that changed my whole perception of My Hero Academia in general. The way that it started, the way that it ended. So I'm always scared to go there watch the anime. So, but right now
I don't blame you.
So because just some stuff that I saw that they changed and stuff that made me say, maybe I just don't want to start to hate on the anime in general. So yeah, you found it?
Yeah. So
Okay,
it's a page that like I'm still not sure which thing Horikoshi was going for here because
Which
it
chapter?
doesn't. Chapter 232, page 10. So there's two ways you could look at it as it's supposed to be an impact line, except the whole point of this interaction is that Redestro dodged the attack. And you just see this like thing where it looks like did he throw a decay blast or something? I don't know. But we know that he's supposed to have missed because Redestro tried to purposely dodges it. Like that's the thing that's emphasized in that panel. So that he's not getting hit by it. And there's just like a random, so it looks like it could be an impact, or is it like something decaying further away? In which case, there's a whole another level to Shigaraki's power that just hasn't been explored because he opted to take the cheat codes, you know?
Oh. I never really thought about that.
Can y'all hear me okay?
Oh,
Walking!
Hey, Walking!
There we go. All right. Also, first of all, I want to say I love cheat codes. So if Shigaraki used cheat codes for a bit, go ahead. That's great. That's awesome. Hey, girl. Yeah. What's up, everybody? How's it going?
Happy New Year, man. I'm good.
Oh, it is the best year so far, and it's only been 8 days. So
yes,
we're gonna keep that gravy train rolling.
Okay, I missed something to Christmas Eve.
Gravy.
Right. Oh.
But yeah, so my stance on this is that Shigaraki overcoming AFO needed to be the hardest battle that he's had so far.
Yeah.
And even this is a case of a combination of power, combination of like will, manipulating the circumstance, because he kind of like let Deku whoop on the main body to weaken off one. Because you notice they said like, hey, we're kind of synced up, and he's not in any position to control the body right now. Which basically lets you know Shigaraki was sitting there like, get him, yeah, and then took over. So he took All for One strategy during the Paranormal Liberation War and applied it to him. He was like, all right, whoever's in the driver's seat takes the more psychological damage from the ass whooping. So I'm gonna let him get his ass beat. Then I'm gonna step in.
Okay. I see where you're going right now.
So,
the thing about it is that for me, what we missed is the struggle of it. You know what I mean? I would have loved to see not a lot, but enough to have this in my mind. But it's just me because because as a reader, you forget total. You have the. I know what. When you talk about it like this, I don't know if you always saw it like this, but reading it like this, it felt like the whole time that you have like Shigaraki is no more there. But for me, it couldn't be possible that he was not there because he had what was the name of his version when he was a kid?
Tenko. We were so that's one of the things that Ponzu, because I know you've been busier. We've made fun of All for One multiple times for the fact that Tenko is there. We talked like one of the things we talked about is how we know that Shigaraki was bouncing, like it was bouncing between the two of them as they were fighting Star and Stripe. The breakdown on Star and Stripe's power sounds more like it's coming from Shigaraki's perspective than All for One's. In the case of a lot of the fight against the villains themselves, All for One pops in, but Shigaraki's family is the one that's like popping up in his flesh mitts and stuff like that. Like you can see different family members popping up off his fingers, off the giant hands. So we knew that throughout this whole ordeal, like as you see, like his family screaming, breaking through the flesh mounds. That's all like a metaphor of the like like to a certain degree, you can look at that as like a visual metaphor for the Shimura clan trying to break free of the control of All For One. If you really want to like take it to that level, and it doesn't contradict anything in the material. Hold up, let me grab this Joseph Shola super chat. Everyone say thank you to Ed Shot because they're trying to say Bakugo angered Shiggy so much it put him back in control. Oh,
gave him a little gamer rage.
Yeah.
So when you look at it, we've had these hints that like it's like Shigaraki's here. He's trying to break free. Shigaraki is here. He's trying to break free. And so All For One has actually been fighting an internal and external battle the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
And we even saw that when Deku first arrived, he was like, there is no Tenko here, blah, blah, blah. Like the Shigaraki's not here. And then you immediately got that cutaway to like Tenko busting out of his chest and him being like, hey, come on. Like it. So we've kind of been waiting. And I kind of expect Shigaraki to outright state what I just mentioned. Or obviously in different terms, because I don't expect to be written one for one what I'm saying, but for Shigaraki to more or less establish that, yeah, he let All For One take that brunt, which it's funny to think of All For One getting his ass whooped on two battlefields at the same time, but that's not the point. Shigaraki, he stated, I want to surpass you. That means surpassing you in manipulation. That means surpassing you in keeping track of the circumstances. That means surpassing him and being aware of what's going on or where he's trying to be, what his advantages and what his disadvantages are. So if you see the body without any quirks and All For One is the consciousness piloting it, and you know that All For One taking lethal damage, because Shigaraki's not afraid to die. That's kind of another one of the things that I think we have to address here. All For One fears his mortality. Shigaraki will risk it all. Like, he will risk it all.
Yeah.
Like, All For One with Decay would never have done what Shigaraki did against Redestro. When Redestro was like, bird and bomb, and Shiggy was like, I could grab that. All For One's not doing that. All For One is not doing that. Think about his fight, like Shigaraki has gotten his ass beat. Like when he was fighting Deku and Deku was bouncing him through the air, Shigaraki wasn't like, he was like, damn, this kid is fast. He's putting damage on me. He's doing it faster than I can heal. But I don't remember Shigaraki begging
him to stop.
If anything, he was kind of relishing in it.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
he was smiling.
Oh, damn. Yeah, exactly. He was just like, oh, damn, I'm being pushed. Okay. All right, let's think about it. It's like kind of with that whole gamer aspect. It's like, okay, I went from playing this game on normal now to now I'm playing it on the God of War difficulty. And I'm like,
Elden Ring.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. This is a challenge. Oh, this is fun. Okay, what can I do now? How can I kill you? How can I destroy you? What can I do? Like, and see, that's what I love about Shigaraki. And I'm hoping All For One, like, because this is going to be my question. I don't know if it's an obvious question or not. Does All For One know, like, actually realize what Shigaraki is? Like, because you compared it to, like, All For One's afraid of his mortality and Shigaraki's not. Like, it's one thing to know that, but to actually, like, kind of realize that, you're like, oh, wait, this kid doesn't care. He doesn't give, like, two craps about what's about to happen. Like, did I, like, not saying he would be, like, have the realization of, I made a mistake, but would that even cross his mind being like, what did I just do? And I think that might come into play when All For One ultimately goes down. Because I think when he does, we're going to have like the parallel of not only him going down, but Vestige for one going down as well. So it's going to be like kind of like one of those things where like they're both defeated and going down at the same time, kind of like closing the curtain on All For One once and for all.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's just a passing thought, but God, man,
Okay.
I'm so happy. I'm so happy Shigaraki's back.
I just went back because I wanted to make sure before I spoke on this. Even the way, so specifically we talked about that begging feature.
Mhm.
So, chapter 285, page 12 is when Shigaraki gets grabbed by Endeavor from behind. You know what he says?
Mhm.
You again.
Yeah.
Look, how do you beat your ass? What you doing here? Not. Wait, no, please stop.
Yeah.
In fact, let me pull up the verbiage from All for One when that happened. Let me pull up that verbiage real quick. Because I'm pretty sure he basically says, wait, no, please don't.
How many times did we have to tell you, old man?
Yep.
Let's see.
Get out of our Japan and stay out.
Let's see. Let's see if I can find it. Yep. No, stop. Shigaraki, you again. All for One. No, stop. Page 10, chapter 357.
Oh.
That's when he was beaten by the fire, though. That's when he was getting beaten with the Superman laser eyes of Endeavor. Stop!
No, please, Endeavor Senpai. It's too hot. It's too hot. I can't handle it.
I just watched finished the part 6 of JoJo's Bizarre.
JoJo?
Yes. Which had which had the same kind of head, the same kind of before he was beaten, he was talking shit so much that when he was in a bad position, no, wait, with me.
Wait, so I have a question for people here. Because it came to me while you were talking about all foreign control and Shiggy. I understand that people don't like how Horikoshi is handling this, how he is this whole all for one's like a parasite taking over Shigaraki, and it's a battle, both physically and mentally. Do you think it's too late for Shigaraki? Let's just say towards the end, Shigaraki breaks out and he's his own person. Do you think it's too late, or would you rather have? Are you happy with this?
What do you mean, like breaking out, like finally being his own person near the end of this?
Yes.
I think it's fine because that's kind of part of Shigaraki's whole journey through this story is him like rising up to himself and like the whole all for one kind of taking over him and all that. That's kind of part of it, and kind of like what Aniki was saying earlier, like this is kind of his final test in a way. Where it's not only just like overcoming all for one, but overcoming one for all now and trying to be that next demon king or whatever. So I don't think it's really too late. I think that never mind. That just gets into a topic of people consuming media and being too impatient with crap, but I'll just leave it at that.
So it's one of the things that we talked about because people pick and choose when we factor in, Hori's loves. And sometimes I think people do oversell Hori's love of certain series, like Star Wars, for example. Like the Dad for One, I think, is a bit of an oversell of how much Hori loves Star Wars. But in the case of Shigaraki, All for One, that rule of two, the Sith power system thing, even if there's, All for One's like, yes, I'm going to use this person as a vessel, which dark side users will try to just like extend their life whatever way possible. They'll try to get as much control as possible, whatever. That rule of two, like there can't be two demon kings, and with them both having the same power and those powers being connected to each other, you can sense each other. All for One, on some level, when he gets closer, assuming because All right. Say I if you think Hawks is stopping All for One from making it to this battlefield.
What's the opposite of I?
Nay.
Yeah.
They, yes.
What?
Me.
Can you repeat the question? Can you repeat the
I'll
question?
have a different answer. Hell no.
Like
The question
But-
in Ponzu was, do you think Hawks will stop All for One from leaving Gunga?
Do I want him to stop living? I want him to get there so the kid can get killed by Shigaraki. That's the only thing that I want, man. Because I think the act of it's a concept in psychology, killing the father, it should be happening for Shigaraki right now because All for One played with him too much. He needs to get his sweet revenge. I want him to kill the feud between All for One and the One Fall situation by killing both of the fathers, All Might and All for One. So he can say, no, it's just you and me. If we can get something like this, it's not about the fight between the guys that before us. It's just you and me, Midoriya. I just want to beat your ass. That would be the best thing for me. So,
all right. So what I'm seeing is like everybody who voted in the chat is like, nah, that ain't happening. And I agree, that ain't happening. What's more is that my point is that when he gets there, he's going to sense that the vestige consciousness of himself in there is not the one piloting the meat suit.
Mm-hmm. He's failing.
Yeah.
So he's gonna be on his way, get that sense, and he's gonna have to deal with something like dealing with the fact that, oh damn, when I get there, and then that's when we're finally gonna get to see what's going on with All for One's like true state of mind regarding Shigaraki. Because the way he talked at Kamino, there was no reason for him to speak the way he did about Shigaraki, and it strongly suggested that he was truly fine and expecting Shigaraki to take over the role, be the dude, and then it like kind of switched up. And so my stance on this is that we're finally going to see like which of these All for One mindsets is true. Is All for One, and is it possibly because he's closer to Vestige for One? Because I genuinely believe that the Vestige for One is the quirk of All for One's personality with like the All for One consciousness kind of layered over it. Like to the extent that I think All for One is kind of its own entity with its own thought process that has molded itself into the person All for One. Mm-hmm. Because the person All for One has a real name. Like the first user One for All isn't One for All, he's Yoichi. So what is the original name of All for One? Mm-hmm. That identity has been erased by that quirk. So I want to see what's going on with that. But something we got to talk about. But there is something that needs to be addressed. But we are starting this year off right.
Yes, sir.
Because finally, the Archbishop is back from, well, it wasn't a vacation, I'll tell you that.
There was some vacation, let's just say that.
And
two.
Let's go! What the fuck going on, nigga? And I'm back to this bitch. What I tell you was that Shiggy back in this bitch. That's my main villain. No, he ain't chilling. And when I touch you with his hand, yeah, I'm killing. Dusting all these niggas, get the fuck out my way. Hold on, Archbishop ain't come to play. What you think he ass niggas today? Me and her, cause she running it up. Hey, what the fuck going on?
Look at the chat.
Did y'all miss me?
And I'm going to acknowledge No Google. I do not want to change my name. Super chat, longtime member as well, coming through saying can't stay for the whole stream, but I want to wish the church a happy new year and a happy new year right back to you. Thank you for being one of our longest supporters and stopping by when you could.
Stay safe.
New Year's.
Bro, man. Like if All Might came back in the story, he wouldn't be met with the same amount of hype that East just got.
Exactly.
Yo, what's Gucci, y'all?
So, Archbishop, I
Yes,
know
sir.
you've been ready to let it hang a little bit.
Man.
Hit the people with that elbow, boy.
First one, I say RKO out of nowhere for you goofy ass niggas that believe Jin Booby Wara wasn't coming back, nigga. You suck my from the back. Listen, I told you that motherfucking bird gonna pay his goddamn dues. I told you, stop talking to me, nigga. My goat back up in this bitch. Day one since A1. And I see that bird trying to run for his fade, bro. Trying to pay this dues. Did you really think with one sword and your puny ass feathers was gonna stop Prime off one? Come on now, son. That nigga Prime off one didn't even flinch when he blew that nigga out the way and broke his sword again. And y'all just all admitted, y'all gave me the fuel I need. You just all admitted, ain't no way in hell that fucking feather bird brain nigga stopping fucking off one from pulling up the UA. Well, we been knew that for fucking thematic reasons anyway, but nigga, power reasons alone, it wasn't no fucking way in hell. Even at Prime, Hawks couldn't fucking stop that nigga. So fuck you thought this was. So I can't fucking wait to revel in victory when a twice situation is addressed, not only by Shigaraki, because he's there and he's back, but we gonna touch on that too. Because I already told you niggas about that. But I cannot, that's so beautiful. I can't wait to see him run it back. Hawks trying to run for his life, but we gonna run that back. You see, I told you niggas time and time again, stop sleeping on my GOAT, Tomura Shigaraki. You niggas really thought that he was not the final villain. And off one was gonna swoop. Time and time again, I have told y'all, the math do not math. If he wanted to pull the bullshit PTSD that everybody keep projecting on the MHA, aka Kishimoto Kaguya syndrome ass shit, guess what he would have did? He would have did it bar for bar, verbatim for verbatim. You didn't see Madara after Kaguya came over, took that nigga over. You may have seen his face or whatever, but like, no, nigga, like he got a Zord, done. That was it. It wasn't no back and forth, pushing back. I can't control it. It's busting out type beat. Time and time again, you knew Shigaraki could control. He kept telling you niggas, stop sleeping on me. This my shit, this my shit, this my shit. Then you see the body fusing and melding and shedding colors. Kept telling you niggas again. And guess what? You want to have a chat at the mall? Fuck all that, nigga. I'm your villain. I ain't chilling. Come on, son. I try to tell these niggas, off one the final villain. I ain't never seen somebody fail what they set up Shigaraki and now off one the final villain. I never seen a fumble like this. Fumble where, nigga? Because it ain't in my manga. Suck my dick from the back. Nigga. Shout out to Stink Meter. Fuck is you talking about? Man, I'm here to talk shit today. Because I got it. Because I got it.
Hey, look.
The rage was building up.
It's deserved.
East is my anger translator. I don't know what I need. Because look, this whole and that's one of the things that I thought is funny because you guys know I'm a huge fan of Dark Deku. I'm a huge fan of Deku Far From Home, and one of the big things, because the thing that sucks about this, right, is that every chapter proves me right about how I feel about that arc. Because my personal stance on it is that folks truly, because what people wanted out of that arc is they wanted it to be pro-hero arc. They wanted it to be PLW2. They wanted it to be a whole bunch of stuff that the beginning arc of an act has never been. And I can't emphasize that enough, really, because do you know what's crazy? You know what's crazy?
Hey.
So I'm going to ask you guys, do you know why there's 2 fights that Deku has that get very specific focus during that arc? Like, yeah, he fights assassins and fodder or whatever, but do you know why there's 2 villain fights that get this focus?
Tell us, sir.
Tell
Because the fight with Shigaraki is 2 phases for Deku specifically. So let me explain. The muscular fight was a lampshade for phase 1. And if you don't believe me, I'm gonna ask you an important question. Where did Deku punch muscular?
Right in the stomach.
Where is the hole that Deku punched into Melvin?
Right in the stomach.
Straight to the cup, that nigga.
What was Melvin, or was Melvin not a giant hulking figure?
Facts.
I would say that.
Yep.
He wasn't certainly tiny.
Like big, covered in the hands, all that other stuff, built just like fucking what you call it, muscular.
Muscular, yes.
What's even better about this is what was it that led to muscular's muscle fiber snapping?
Help
It
from
was goddamn
Shindo.
Shindo, the vibrations and attacks that he landed on him that didn't seem to matter. A buildup of attacks landed on Melvin from the rest of the crew that didn't seem to matter, started causing him to slow down over time. And he started getting confused as to why he was feeling pain. That fight was quick and dirty. Deku showed up and rolled him using a combination of all his powers. Think about it. He used the smoke screen to distract him, just like he kind of did with muscular. He used the black whip as a ball to grab him and throw him, just like he did with the black chain. He was stacking abilities, using, doing all the things that he, showing you refined versions of the techniques that he used to roll muscular. And then what did he say when he hit him with when he hit muscular in the stomach? This is my full power. What did he actually get to use against Muscle Melvin?
His full power.
Even over to power, man.
So now, would it be controversial for me to say Nagant was a way higher difficulty fight?
Facts.
Do you mean in terms of muscular or?
Yeah, comparing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
100%. She had to push that nigga
Yes.
to use something he ain't used before.
Yeah, because
And she was holding back.
Yes.
she's my main girl, so yeah.
No,
In addition to
the
that,
fight was more cerebral. The fight was more cerebral.
Yeah.
the fight with Nagant was more ideological, yes?
It challenged his
100%.
beliefs. It made him actually see the world as black and white, and not black and white, but shades of gray.
Yep.
So, if his goal is to save Melvin, and it's gonna mirror the Nagant fight,
It would happen in this phase.
and it would be a lot harder. Because let's be real, one of the things that people were saying is that this fight with Deku and him is way too easy.
Hell nah.
Like that first round, and that was the thing that nobody it's just bro, everybody's phase 1 outside of what happened to Bakugo and them was too easy.
Yep.
So basically, let me pop this off. So we got a super chat for Denzel. Let me read this because I'm about to touch on this topic that you just going on for. Because I was about to say something about this and how you said about Dark Deku Far From Home. Super chat from Denzel. He said, if this is off topic, I know it's off topic, but Bishops, how do you see the growth of Deku and Shiggy go from here? Because their dynamic is one of the best in the series. Now you see, as Anki was just talking about what people expected from Dark Deku and shit or Deku Far From Home, and on the case of Shigaraki. And that point, this is what a lot of people keep complaining about Deku introspection. Like they want to in the arc, he wanted them to say I guess a profound speech worth of 5 pages, oh, the world, this, that, and the other, but this, that, and the other, and da. And this is where I stand, and we'll change the world. I guess that's what they wanted. But at the same time, it's all right, we're coming to a close in this thing and their stories, right? That's what most people believe. So you would need that when it's most prominent, so you don't run it back again. He gonna come to that point when he needs to come to that point when it's up with Shigaraki and when their ideas clash fully. Now that Shigaraki is also back, they finna really clash head to head, and truly. And the reason that whole fight was easy as fuck is because once again, nigga had no quirks. It was just power, just strength. Meanwhile, niggas was jumping around with a fucking bunch of different abilities, barely keeping up. But Deku came with all his arsenal on 100. Stacked up, had the right way to go in with cheat codes. There was nerf in Shigaraki. He didn't have his regen. He couldn't use shit. It's like me trying to fight somebody with both hands tied behind my back. Like, how long am I going to really truly last against a nigga that's shooting me, trying to shoot me with bullets and all types of shit? Like, that nigga was held back. But now, you're going to see why he was held back this entire time, why Deku got his ones in, and it made sense, like, okay, now Deku beat the brakes off of All For One while he was in control. And ain't going to go the same with Shigaraki, because he back now. He's like, yeah, nigga, I'm actually back. And I got all my fucking quirks. Because you seen what happened when the second they took their eyes on that nigga, you seen that fucking Big Bang explosion inside the fucking UA thing. And everything came fucking, now the building falling down out the sky. So now this is where they really start popping off. And Deku finna have to work his ass. I mean his ass.
That nigga can't breathe.
Hey, Tarnish. So,
my man, your feet speak, bro.
Also, this is a side note, but I do want to acknowledge this as was said. Somebody in the chat was like, shout out to Bones for the Deku point of view and the ED that was mad creative.
Top tier ending.
This is my new favorite ending.
I love
absolutely.
That.
A transition from junior high Deku into his costume during the exams and then into his UA uniform. Top tier.
It also feels like they are purposely slowing down the pace a bit so that they don't have to include Star and Stripe in this season.
And she just be left as a team.
I hope so.
Most likely
as it should be.
I don't need that this season. I don't need it. You know what I'm saying?
Keep her.
As long as she comes into Stars and Stripes forever, I'll be fine.
This is you know, let's take this side route real quick because I want to talk about how this arc is already and like POW's ending has already been received way differently in the anime only community than it has been in the manga reader section. And it's partially because manga readers have this like Shonen Jump War pissing match contest that's constantly going on that stops people from looking at the series as the series.
That's a nicer way of saying they can't read.
Yes.
That too.
I got so many anger translators. So, but the thing that I've seen anime only say is like, is anybody else uncomfortable with how like dark this has gotten? How like sad this was? Like if the Reddit thread in response to this week's episode was like, damn, I don't like how much flashback there was. And yet, even with only half, like half the episode and a little over half the episode being dedicated to advancing the plot, it really drove everything home.
Mm-hmm.
It really made me understand how like sad and tragic everything is. People are like, Uraraka's 1,000-yard stare ripped me apart. Just the reception and understanding, like, no, this is actually terrible and sad and hurts. Like anime onlys are in pain.
I mean, that's the benefit of having an anime. You have
when we read the
manga, we don't have the what's the word? The privilege to have voice acting, to have OST, to have like the animation, like the content with Midnight, like Turner said in the anime chat, it hits even harder because you can hear the students cry. You can see the movement of Mina's hand, like clutching Midnight's dead hand. It heartbreaking.
Oh,
and thing in the anime is godly this season.
I've seen nobody try to clown about the montage. It's crazy because like they saw like a bunch of different heroes pop up and understood that was not representative of everyone that died.
Yes,
bro,
which is crazy.
Don't take me back to that time period when niggas was trying to talk shit. That shit pissed me the fuck
Oh
off.
my god!
Yes, I remember that.
They're having a press conference.
Boy, if I could jump. Ooh, if I could jump through the screen and choke some of them bitch ass niggas out that was talking shit, I swear to God, I'll fucking punch a nigga in the throat.
And you know what's crazy? I have seen nobody imply the heroes won from the anime only.
They're all saying they all lost.
Every anime only is like the heroes lost. This is driving home the pain of the I even saw people bringing up Native. They were like, yo, we lost Native, who was the guy that they helped save back
Shout
in
out
season
the
Some people
the custodians.
Yo, listen, this is not a win in the anime. Like nobody, like once you
We're
see
happy that he's dead, bro.
once you see everybody like trying to save civilians under rubble, this is not a win.
But I'm like, bro, that's a see. I think this because
it's just that people don't care. They're like, oh,
no,
it's just fodder.
It's but it's like a mixture of a couple things. One, you're looking at a lens through niggas on anti-Twitter. And then two is like the way Horikoshi writes this is that a nigga is not in the typical your battle shonen type beat or your battle series type beat. Like in your average series, like nigga like or JJK like Black Clover, a nigga take a straight W, a nigga take a straight W. MHA, Davi didn't kill Endeavor right there. But the fucking shit he did to the society was a fucking W overall, impacting everything in there, which matters. But niggas so fucking tunnel vision on you didn't kill that nigga, you didn't beat him, or you like type B is like, then they clown Geaton, like, oh look at him, he was crying, like nigga Cemento's got a hole in his chest too. So like to me, that's a double KO. And a double KO.
What's crazy is that they, which I understand they did it for censorship purposes, so they didn't end up showing how bad Cemento's got fucked up fighting Catan. But they're like, nobody looked at, like, people watched them get packed up, watched Reed Estro lose and all that other stuff, and they were like, no, the heroes lost. And like somebody is saying, they like anime only saw thousands of people get arrested and was still like, this is an L. Which is probably the best example, because I've seen people like talk about this, like illiterate people try to read manga, more news at 11. This is probably the best illustration of how, yes, Twitter isn't real life, but also like how easy it is to get caught up in, like, for people to get caught up in these, oh, mine is better than yours, this, that, and that, and the other thing, like this nonsense where it's like, oh, this isn't a real war because I feel like 800 people haven't been 360 no scope by Shigaraki yet, and woo, and that's another thing. Anime only saw Deku be like, Shigaraki in that moment when he was being possessed by All For One looked like he might have needed some help. None of the reception and the reason for that is because as much as people like to do, my anime is better than yours, it's not to the degree that manga Twitter tries to do it. It just isn't. And because there's this extra clout factor that is attached to, and the other thing is that even if you go on like Facebook discourse is not nearly as dunk centric as Twitter, because Twitter is like a bunch of people all in a bubble. If you like any manga or anime, it will recommend you more tweets that are related to manga and anime. And then you got to get clout and just giving positive things. Like both East and I used to do like multi-tweet threads. I've got threads that are like 15, 20 tweets long, covering stuff, and somebody being like, MHA tried to copy Demon Slayer by having Deku save Eri, can do like way more numbers.
See, this is why I stopped those think pieces, and this is why, because first of all, I don't like texting, I don't like typing. That's why I like speaking and my vocals, because like, and secondly, I don't like wasting my breath, and I like talking. So you think I'm finna fucking waste my time typing out so the nigga can read one of the thing I said and then misconstrue it on the fucking app? The nigga say I like pancakes, so you hate waffles type beat. No, you got me fucked up. You're not finna misconstrue what the fuck I just said because your dumb ass can't read. That's not my problem. So fuck out my face. The main thing about this, everybody want to be a fucking keyboard warrior. How many people you seen in your mutuals that actually show your face? They face. The niggas that talk the biggest shit. Niggas that talk all the biggest shit. They're not
hiding behind a Lelouch profile picture.
Like you talking a lot of shit, nigga, for some shit that I bet you've never ever experienced like in your actual life. Like you would not talk the same way. You have not showed your face. You would not talk the same way if like you could see it. And that's the thing about the anime people, the reviewers and the reactors. They live like, okay, you can actually see who I am. I'm not afraid to put myself out there type beat. And they can also read. They can also read and comprehend better than these other niggas can. But it's easier, and a lot of times the negative wave and the high mind of like, everybody hates this shit, so I guess I'll hate it too. And a lot of niggas don't actually hate shit. Because it's a very big, I'm not gonna put that nigga out there, but a very big Twitter name nigga that came to me before it was the funnest thing ever to shit on MHA. And was like, yo, they too negative over there, bro. I see why you left. Then made one tweet kind of complain about something. Then that nigga took off like, oh, I'm gonna just shit on MHA every chance I get. But you didn't do that with like Deku Black was going on. But at the end, oh, you found a real good clout sitting on shit. And niggas want to go with the high bond because it's the fun negativity thing to do. So you know what the mindset I came up with on my hiatus? And I want everybody to take complete offense to this if you take offense to this. Because I mean it's in the most disrespectful way possible and the most I won't smoke way when I say this. So if you take offense to it, take offense to it. You got a complaint? I truly don't give a fuck anymore because it's not a problem when they do it. It's cool when they do it, but when it comes to horrorcore to do it, it's a problem. So fuck them.
Yep, it's just cool a double standard.
Cool when another nigga do it. Nobody bat an eye. But then horrorcore do something, he can't cook. It's an issue. So you know what? Fuck all them damn complaints. If I don't got a problem with it, I don't give a rat's ass. When somebody fucking got a problem with that or this, that, and other, suck my dick. Because
I also want to say this is the second season in a row that Bones has trolled me by one episode.
Oh.
So season 5, if you go back, you can see that I had a prediction. Like I predicted, I was like, this is the chapters that I expect to be adapted. This is the pace that I'm expecting it to be at. So my predictions for the first core ended off by a single episode. And I think it was mostly because of the fact that they did like that shifting thing. I ended up off by one episode. If you remember, my initial prediction was for my tireless no move would be the end of episode 13.
And it'll be in episode 14.
So Bones likes to troll me by a single episode. And y'all need to stop doing that. Let me be great, dog. Don't stop pushing the schedule.
Let me cook.
Bones. If any of you guys on that team are doing that right now, please let us know, and we need to talk about some things.
I'm gonna be honest.
Oh,
wait, go ahead.
Thomas.
Go ahead.
No,
I can say mine
Thomas.
after.
Okay.
I was gonna say that, in my honest opinion, after watching so many reactions to the content in season 6 compared to all the stuff I remember from the manga readers' perspective on Twitter, the anime community is probably a lot cleverer in a way. That's just my opinion. I think they are easy. They pick up stuff more. They don't bitch about stuff that doesn't matter, where they can, like, they know that
They definitely don't
patience.
bitch about stuff that doesn't matter.
So I'm gonna be real. A lot of manga readers are reading out of FOMO.
Yes.
They're not reading because they actually like the series.
They have to keep at it.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing too, is that like people don't realize that just because you level a critique at series and a lot of people like what you said, doesn't mean those people are actually fans of the series. Doesn't mean they actually analyze the series well. Doesn't mean they're actually media literate.
Nah.
It just means they like what you said.
It also doesn't mean that you're right. Like,
so
you could still be wrong too.
With 10,000 retweets.
Those be the biggest. Those be the main niggas that be wrong.
Yep.
What are we talking
You're
about?
right, Cameron. Hey, folks.
You.
Me.
No. Just kidding.
So,
I have never been wrong in my life. I promise.
So there was something that, like, I'm glad you're here, Volt. There's one of the things that I wanted to talk about. Man, we're not even going to address that Bones has an agenda because Uraraka held Deku's hand thing. No, we're not doing that. We're not dealing with that stupidity. We're not dealing with stupidity.
Not this stupid crap again.
One of the things that I like about this, though, is that people are already genuinely worried for Deku. And when they saw the trailers for next episode, I've seen people be like, oh my God, it looks like they're going to free all for one next episode. This is horrible. Like, can they catch a break?
Nope.
This is a great time for anime onlys because, like this, I think, like I said this before, manga readers tend to be very selective with what they seem to like. Like things have to happen in a specific order in a specific way for it to be considered a score for them. Whereas with anime onlys, they're a lot more casual with it. They're a lot more, this is the next part of the story. And speaking of making things hard for Deku, the Gearshift backlash is that is arguably the second worst after breaking his bones. Like that's just
Facts. He can't breathe.
Honestly, it's fucking funny because it was like I was like, "Hey, bro, listen, let the drawback come. The nigga cooking on something."
I knew it was going to be like I kind of had like a general idea of like, okay, it was going to be exhaustion of some sort, because the way he was talking about it is like, okay, I can't keep this up for long. But he just like drove it to like 200% and it said, nah, this motherfucker suffocates when he starts using this. I'm like, Jesus. Yeah. Which makes sense though, because he's accelerating his body way too fast for his oxygen intake to keep up. So it's like his body's literally struggling just to absorb the right amount of oxygen. So,
and especially with
my man is doing gear 2. He's using gear 2.
And especially with the addition of like the stacking of one for all and the power system, like it's even worse than when the second user had it.
I've seen someone in the chat, I don't know who, but if you can come out and say it, that'd be appreciative. But they said maybe the reason because of the drawback is that he's using it on himself, where the quirk is meant to be used on people and items. And I think that is possible, but I also feel like it'll still affect them just like it affects him, which is terrifying because like you said, Volk, this is the second worst like thing that happened to Deku ever since he broke his bones. Like this is like if he keeps pushing himself, he will either die or faint. And either or you are that's detrimental.
And what shows you that like the second user comes from like a completely different time and he has a different mentality compared to the others. Like when Deku starts thinking it's like, my time limit's running out, he just fucking appears out of nowhere. He's like, don't you fucking stop. You do this.
Like, you gotta keep moving. Keep moving.
I told you can't fall.
That nigga is literally fucking like that nigga's a fucking what was a drill instructor during the fucking
that ain't fair. Yo, he didn't have to deal with this shit. Yo, when he had the quirk, there was no breathing drawback because he couldn't use it on himself. He go
only came back and was like, "Hey, I didn't give you permission to suffocate. Cut that out."
Those first three users,
he's my quirk doing that. Yes, it is.
Yeah, like those first three users come from a different time.
Yes,
and Yuichi is noted to be like exceptionally kind, so he's very different. But the second user, he's a bit more of a rough and tumble type. He's a bit of a cunt.
Judon, the third user, may be rough and tumble. Like Banjo, that's rough and tumble. That nigga is a military sergeant.
Second user,
but here's the thing:
the second user. I'll let you talk, Aniki.
I was gonna say I have so much respect for the second user though. Like I know people are like, "Damn, he's being hard on him." The second user is the one, like, because he juxtaposes with the rest of them really well, actually. Because Banjo was like rough and tumble, like East was saying, and he's like, rough and tumble with it, and like, hey, try to relax a little. But you also, if you get pissed off, you're gonna really be able to run them fades. So like, there's a trade-off, let's go. But like the second user is like, if you're not willing to kill, you're not willing to catch bodies, you don't even need this power. Because
what is you doing?
And because like Nana is sitting here crying, like, man, I should have used the rubber. Like, but and you got the sixth user the sixth user is like, hey man, you gotta relax a little. Everybody's like, oh man, and the second user is like, niggas are dying.
Every day.
The world is in shambles. All for One is still out here breathing oxygen he does not deserve. He doesn't have a nose, which means he's a canonical mouth breather. Extra levels of disgusting. Niggas die every day. Shaped like a nutsack. Listen to your boy Bakugo.
Niggas die every day.
The second user,
I get
guy.
In Heroes Rising when Bakugo like temporarily gets one for all and then like the user just kind of snatch it back for Deku. I kind of wonder if the second user was like the one that's sending voices like, this guy has the violence I like. Let's stay with him.
I like this kid.
Wow, I feel great in this body.
And that's why he's so extra hard on Deku. Like, man, I ain't want this nigga. Man. Are you ready, nigga? Damn, nigga. what we here for.
Nah, he said that, bro. He said, "Yo, you want to save our greatest enemy? What's wrong with you?"
You'll also see, during Villain Hunt, and this is going to happen, and we're going to see this in the anime. But whereas all the other users are like worried for Deku's condition and his health and what's going to happen to him, the second user, like in opposition to how he was like at the start, he was pretty standoffish. He's like, I don't agree with I don't agree with trying to save Shigaraki. I don't agree that this is just going to screw everything up. He's the only one who really approves of him, like doubling down on finding All for One. He's like, okay, that's the energy I like.
Yeah. So that's the other thing too, is that like the second user is like, Deku, you need to be a little me. Because think about it, he was like, you know what he needs? He wasn't like, Deku needs a break. He was like, Deku can get a break incidentally once he has his own military backing him up, like I had back in the day. Like,
yo, hey, no, first of all, I got a few things to address real quick. Tanisha, the second user is the smoke. He should have had ins quirk dead ass. True. That nigga want all the smoke and some more. Come on, now he really pulled up and off one's fucking base. Was like, yo, we smoking his brother.
I mean, like,
brother's just a prisoner.
Also,
then you see that flashback, that very brief one where he was that nigga off one was choking that nigga out. He killed all these niggas, and he was like, I'm still gonna shoot your ass, bitch.
Another piece of foreshadowing about the second user, though. So, what does the second user's quirk allow Deku to do?
Remove the inertia from objects.
And increase speed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember what he said to Deku while Deku was eating?
Oh, things. Yeah, that's something that people picked up on. Right?
Yes.
So things are about to go fast from here on out. Yep. And people just took that to mean about the pacing, and it's like, well, that was part of it, but
he was also said like letting you know, like that's one of my favorite things about Horikoshi. He's a very big sleight of hand writer. Like,
ooh,
you look at that and you're like, oh yeah,
that was when we got that flashback too.
Speaking of sleight of hand, you know what he kept talking about with Shigaraki? The symbolism is like a butterfly. He's gonna pop out of his cocoon. What does he do this chapter? He pops out of the All for One cocoon, and he's like reborn, and he's better. He's back and better than ever. And like the skin is like, it's really creepy. His old skin as like AFO Rocky is like still fluttering behind him like butterfly wings.
Yeah.
So gross.
Or like a little like cape wrapped around his waist. I love it.
So Horikoshi is very funny.
I told you that nigga the biggest sleight. He's just a fucking magician. Nigga just sleight of hand, always doing some slick shit.
Because it's like he's always like writing stuff or doing things where he's like, and I'm kind of the same way. This is why I always say like Horikoshi writes his manga for people whose brains work like mine. Because I was planning some stuff in regard to getting married, right?
Yeah.
And
okay, bravo.
I was talking to my lady, and one of the things that I did before we set up the appointment with the officiant so that we could get everything set up so that we could make sure we're on the same page, all that other stuff, was that I didn't tell her the day we had the appointment. The appointment was going to be a surprise. And so what I did is that I just asked her a couple questions about like the guest list and some other stuff before we head out for that day. While she was talking, I was like, oh yeah, baby, by the way, blah, 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 blah. She had been trying to guess for over a week. 5 minutes before we leave, I asked her about the thing we're going to do. She doesn't realize, because we do some extra stuff before then, that that's the thing we're leaving to go do. Horikoshi likes to do that. Like, here's this thing. You're like, cool. That's a cool thing. Here's another thing. You're like, oh, these things are so cool. Yeah, I like the Mothra imagery. That's so dope. And then you like come to this moment. You're like, oh. Like he plays in your face. He tells you what's going to happen.
Yeah.
You just have to know when he told you or when he was talking about the future. And that's the real hard part.
So, you know what? Thank you for the alley-oop, because now I want to transfer back to Volk since we talked about this, because Volk talked about folks changing up and stuff like that. So, Volk, basically what you were talking about earlier, niggas changing their mind, whatever have you. It's basically revision. Well, my homie like to call it revisionist history. So when time comes or time passes, niggas have a gripe with whatever they did before, and then like as time passes or the arc ends, and then they let it like sit and marinate. They're like, you know what? This shit is actually pretty like good. So point being, the biggest complaint of Deku Black arc was that like, oh, we didn't get an ending introspection from Deku's point of view. Then once you get it after this fight with Shigaraki, you really get his whole mental state. Basically, what niggas had said not gonna mean shit. It's gonna be null and void. Because it's gonna be like, oh, he was just waiting until an actual proper moment when Deku could put all his ideas and words into like the most important time. Because then he just had the main point of that was realizing he can't do everything on his own, and he acknowledged that. That was the main point. He already said what he had to say about society fucked up, and he didn't really see the full racism. He was saying like, "Yo, it's not black and white." I feel like niggas just ignored some of the things he said at that point.
Well, they ignore it because he doesn't straight up like yell at Bakugo like they want him to.
And that's my thing too about the Bakugo. Say, like, what's his thoughts on the Bakugo thing or whatever it be? Because it's like you do realize there's not much to say. Like, what did people? I didn't know what people specifically bar for bar want this nigga to say to Bakugo because he already told Bakugo, "Yo, they fought." He told him long ago how he truly.
They just
felt.
want him. Yeah, they just want him to say, "Go to hell" and be done with it. It's
but that's not Deku though. Like that's just the thing. It's like, do you not understand what the character is then?
They want him to retrace like past steps. That's what they want.
Yeah, because I'm confused on what people want. Because like I literally want people that have a problem with him not answering Bakugo thing or just passing out. I want them to truly say bar for bar what they want this nigga Deku to actually say. Because Deku has already said how he felt on the opposite end of Bakugo being a dickhead this entire time. He already fought. Deku versus Kachan, they already said too. He was like, bro, I looked up to you. You was a dickhead the whole time. I already knew that. But you was like a nigga I just admired.
And on the flip end of that, a bunch of middle-aged women in their 30s and 40s thought that meant that they were in love. So, I mean, it is a kind of love.
Hold up. What did I miss that allowed us to segue into that comment?
Deku point of view and Bakugo's apology.
Oh,
yeah, and I'm just like, bro, Deku realized
in love, right?
I'm just confused because for me, comprehending it, what did you want for infrastructures from Deku? He talked to Nagant, didn't realize there's a racism thing going on, but showed you that's another topic right there. He talked to Nagant. He said, "Yo, I realized it's not black and white, and it's gray and stuff like that." Then he went full dark, and then he realized like, "Yo, I can't do this alone. My friends are who I actually need." And then he said, "This is the story how we all became heroes, not just me." And he was like, "Yo, I got my friends." And then he walked around, even at how we became heroes. And then he talked to Ayoma, like he kept presenting his growth. So I'm just confused on what niggas wanted. What did they want him to say? You gonna have to say bar for from now on, niggas gonna start talking to me bar for bar what they want. Like, what did you want this nigga to actually say? Because he already spoke.
Deku has made his feelings towards Bakugo pretty clear. And the same with All Might. That flashback during the war when All Might was talking to Bakugo and trying to console him, where he was like, "Oh, Deku doesn't have any hatred towards you. He cares about you." And the same here, like he didn't have to apologize. And the fact that he did means a lot, especially using his first name, his forename. Like Deku isn't going to stand there and go, "You know what? Fuck you, Bakugo. This is all this is how I felt. This is how I felt inside, which I never implied to have."
Like, I think also it kind of just speaks to their different philosophies, where like Bakugo was kind of like all of their lives he was kind of provoking Deku to try and fight him. It's like, why aren't you more mad at me? Why aren't you fighting like I am? Because he took that as a sign of strength, right? Like that anger was really the only anger and quirks, and using that and being aggressive was like really the only way you could be a hero. And then when he realizes even after all that time that Deku holds no ill will towards him, he just has to kind of first he starts stewing within himself because, like, you know, he's Bakugo, he's always temperamental. but after that starts coming the slow realization that he really has a lot to make up to Deku for, and like that he still wants to be his friend even after all that time, even after what he.
So this is my thing, right?
Is motivated his guilt. So
actually, I want to touch on this apology thing real quick, because I want people to understand that when this apology airs, it is not going to be received the same way that the manga community wanted it to be.
Whoa, that's a shock to me. I mean, my business is.
I know.
What a revelation!
Listen,
most things will be like that, fortunately.
Yes. Hey, Seth. So the reason why, man, we got a full house today. I love it. This is a perfect way to start the year off. So
everywhere you look.
But the reason why I want to emphasize this here is because one of the things that like I said, I went on the Reddit, and all the reception towards the start, like this episode, the new OP, the new ED, everybody is just worried. Everybody feels like MHA has been so dark this season. It's being like they feel so far removed from where they started off, and like this journey has been so jarring for them that. Which, if you think about it, the act of like ending pulling up to their house and kidnapping Natsuo, MVA, like all this stuff is like excellent prep. And I kind of understand, even though I still don't fully agree with it, definitely understand why MVA is kind of moved now, because it creates just this really dark stretch of story. Like this just bad, just nothing but bad shit happening.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you sit down and you binge the MHA anime, and if you think about it, you're going to hit a point where you're just watching 30 episodes of things are getting pretty bad for the heroes.
Yeah. And that's not what at a certain time, that's the story is still about hope at a certain extent.
But what I also want to talk about, though, is the reason why the apology is going to be seen so differently is because they're going to watch Deku isolate himself. They're going to watch Deku get that run back on Muscular. They're going to watch Deku run away from All Might, which they already showed like in the OP. Like this is one of the most spoilerific OPs that we've had so far.
Yeah,
I love it. I love it because you don't know why it's going down this way. But
he also throws in like little extra fuck shit at you too. It's like there's the cut of like Ida Todoroki Bakugo
versus
Shigaraki.
Yeah.
And like I'm not saying that potentially that couldn't happen in like the future of the current manga arc, but that doesn't happen in this arc.
It's shonen, and I love it.
It's just some opening filler. Finally, like let some cool shit happen.
That's what I'm saying. Like that, they did that shit for our future. I keep ideas like some of that shit wasn't happening there. All form wasn't used like purple lightning and shit like that. Like niggas was like, I'm like, hey, let it rock, nigga. Fuck it.
Like just like that sequence of Deku with like the electricity popping out everywhere and the camera just pans.
The green, like, yellow.
Look at it. It's raw, isn't it? Yeah, you like that, don't you?
I can't wait for it.
But my point is, it's like that apology and Uraraka's moment are likely to land between because it seems like they're going to try to make this end with Deku returning to UA. That's what it feels like they're going for this. Like they're going to have the season end with that, and then maybe give us like a cutaway, kind of like how they did with Stain, except maybe have the cut be like Star and Stripe coming, or just show us like the hand, like Shigaraki's hand while he was standing on the plane, like with the hole in it, something like that. That's what it's looking like. But what that means is that the viewer is going to be experiencing all this hardness, all this hardship, them rushing, and then they're probably going to get an episode that finishes with Bakugo apologizing.
So I want to say something about this before we let Seth pop his shit off, because he just got here, so you got to pop his shit off. But before we get to him, real quick, I just want to say the last thing on this apology. But like I said again, from now on, niggas got complaint, or like they keep bringing up this Deku introspection and apology. I'm going to tell you, literally out your mouth, tell me exactly what you want this nigga to say, because to me, he already said how he felt back in Deku versus Kachan 2, if you forgot that fight existed. He told him exactly how he felt about all the bullying, all the bullshit, and how he felt about him as a person. And then he moved on. because you know who
I'm gonna
Deku
be
is as a person.
honest. I'm gonna be honest. As bad as like this fan base is like very insistent on like, oh, you guys aren't reading. You guys aren't reading. It's like, and some of the people who say that are in fact not paying attention and kind of need things spoon fed to them.
Exactly. Right. So it's like I don't know, and then like people kind of missed the point once again of what the fuck the message was, or what Deku was supposed to learn from Deku Black, which was he realized what he was supposed to do was like, oh, I can't do this alone. That's literally what the fuck the point was. He went off on his own, and guess who he returned? To UA with all the support he had. So like, starts with him leaving UA, ends with him coming back. Off alone, going off on his own, coming back with his friends and his allies. And what the fuck does that nigga, the second user Chekhov, keep telling him? You got allies, nigga. Threads of hope, threads of fate. Everything chained together. Again and again and again. Like, that's the fucking message. So like, him realizing his introspection, like him realizing like, I got friends, I got allies. That was the fucking point. So he learned his lesson. So I'm really confused what the introspection was needed. Because
everybody who comes into contact with All For One just sort of tumbles down this hole of being self-isolated and alone. Like this even happens to the villains. You'll notice they all go off to their different locations, right? With All For One in charge, this arc. But then once the tide starts turning and they kind of start gripping together, that's when All For One starts to lose his grip. And that's how Shigaraki is poised to take over instead, because his strength, again, is his allies, because he realizes that being alone is not the path to greatness.
Exactly.
It's the opposite.
Exactly.
It's the opposite. And the great thing about Villain Hunt is that, or Dark Deku, or whatever you want to call it, is that yes, it is Deku's selflessness taken to extremes, but at the same time, he is also being selfish about it. Like his desire to just be an absolute ultimate superhero because he's so concerned. He's kind of getting wrapped up in his own little world. And Suyu straight up tells him, is like, look, if you want to be a superhero, we're gonna be by your side. We're gonna support you. And that's the thing. It's like it's just such a great contrast to me. And I think as well, like people don't realize is like, Deku should have said fuck them and just went off on its own. It's like people don't look at this like situation logically. They just see Deku being raw and they think, oh, that's great. The story should keep doing that.
Like I said,
they don't look at it logically where no, Deku was going to get himself and everybody else killed. It wasn't just him. If he went, All For One would just rule the world and kill everybody else. That's what would have happened.
Okay, I want to address this very beautiful catch-22 about this, because we've talked about this before and how I was like, so we got canonical information that said, in the volumes, Deku was keeping his Danger Sense Black Whip active 24/7, which means that Deku was legitimately not sleeping, which means he was logging hundreds and hundreds of hours of active time. So the same people who often are upset about Deku hitting 100% currently, they're like, oh, it feels cheap. Like, whoa. Now, I explained before, even if we do have Deku sleeping, the fact that he was actively using his powers at all times for like a month straight basically means that, let's say you go to school and effectively every week you have roughly 5 hours spent on a subject in high school a week. And you rack up, so that means like after 20 weeks, you have 100 hours on that subject, and then which, that's basically accounting for school year vacations and the summer off. If you go to a school that has summer off and stuff like that, so basically you're going to log roughly like 120 hours a year on any individual subject. And I want people to think about going into high school as a freshman, and maybe you didn't know algebra, maybe you started in geometry, whatever the case may be. And I want you to think about the mastery you got over like mathematics between freshman year of high school, starting in algebra, geometry, whatever, to where you were senior year with trigonometry, calculus, whatever the case may be, or probability and statistics if you're like me, because I took a probs and stats class my senior year. and realize that that's about 450 hours of mathematics education. Deku, when he was out on those streets for 20, 30 days by himself, you were combining a year's worth of education already with effectively 300-400 hours of him doing independent quirk study. Him not mastering his quirk would have been weirder.
Yeah.
But what's more is that these same people who are uncomfortable with him being this strong in this scenario and going back and getting a bit bonus training with them to, get some fine tuning done, would have also been upset if Deku, after running those streets, getting that quirk training, was beating off one by himself, because they would have been like, see, it's like Naruto all over again, completely threw away the side characters.
No.
So this is crazy catch-22 here, where Deku is already ahead of the classmates. We know he's ahead of the classmates. But, and I think it's because this doesn't happen a lot, he is not so narratively ahead of them that they don't feel irrelevant. And I think it's because characters are actually getting moments that people feel like, oh, we didn't get enough out of him being alone, because they don't want to acknowledge that the whole point of this is that doing it all alone is destructive to yourself. It's corrosive towards society because it builds hyper-individualism, which leads to people also being selfish, because like the bystanders aren't getting engaged. One, because it's the hero's jobs. Two, because it's been conditioned into them that the optimal path for their survival is to never get involved with this fuck shit. Never touch it. Let the heroes handle it. Stay away. Keep yourself alive. That a sense of community has been corroded through that hyper-individualistic culture.
So to touch upon that, so now let's close this out too. Because who changed my name? You asked. That's exactly the point. Thank you, Aniki. Who changed my name? What was the message of Villain Hunt? Really, Deku Black. But Deku learned not to destroy himself, learning to be selfish of his own feelings. Point was, you cannot do this alone. And who else said that? And then Joseph, like Joseph said, that this arc is the ultimate refuting of the soul symbol of peace concept. The entire thing with All Might, relying on one nigga, then that nigga fell out the hero rankings and was not a hero no longer. The entire society went fucking down and left field and to shit because they relied on one nigga and everybody else is lazy and complacent. Time and time again, they are telling you the entire story. Deku might have the strongest quirk. Cool. He cannot do this alone, because once again, he was right in saying y'all can't keep up with one for all for one in Shigaraki. Okay, nigga, you can barely keep up, and once you tie with them niggas, what about Dabi? What about the other army the niggas got? If you can only focus on the strongest niggas, right, and y'all going toe to toe, which means bar for bar, y'all equal. Okay. What happens when somebody step to the side and knock your ass in the back of your head? AKA, that means you can't fucking keep up with two niggas at once, because you got to fight the strongest nigga, right? That means you need backup. You need allies. You can't be everywhere at once, bro. That's the point. You can't do everything at once, and you don't have to, because you're not alone. Because we no longer follow that bystander effect, sitting on the side. Everybody has a role to play. Everybody has a part. Just like it's just not off one's fault that Shigaraki who became. It's also the niggas that fucking turned a blind eye. It's the entire society's fault. They want to keep pushing this shit back and down and ignoring it. So it's not just one person. Just auto rely on one person. In your life, you don't just meet one person and one person causes your fault. You get molded by multiple experiences. And that was the point. We're not relying or focusing on just you or thinking that it's all on you when it's a fucking group thing. It's an entire collective.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's one of the amazing things about MHA, I think, is that a lot of the themes are able to bleed into each other. And a lot of it, obviously it starts with All Might, and I don't like the narrative that, people attack All Might for this. I don't know why they do, but All Might was just a person doing the best he could. It never made sense to me for people to attack him. All that happened was that what made All Might has started to pass on to more than one person, and that lets it be self-sustaining. It's like, I don't like the narrative that All Might is wrong or whatever, or worse, grooming Deku.
That grooming Deku thing is some of the most insane.
You're talking about a
glad-
very different
so glad I
side of
was
Twitter
wrong.
there, Steph.
Right.
Sorry.
So glad I was
Twitter has been on fire for a couple days for reasons that I also
Year.
wanted to touch on, but not
Forever.
so directly.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on that too.
But I'm not sure how caught up we are on everything because I came in late. Sorry. So we talked about the chapter already, yeah. Or in
basically.
Look, we can always talk more about the chapter. If you got more details or ideas you want to toss around, bring them, Seth.
Oh, sure. Let's see. Well, actually, before I lose it, I wanted to talk on the villain hunt point because it's relevant with the amazing opening and ending we got. But one thing that I think gets overlooked is that MHA has a very specific take on affirmation, like personal affirmation. You see this both with Deku and with Shigaraki and with other characters about, needing to be told something really important, something to be affirmed in some way. There are complicated feelings about that because I don't necessarily believe like all forms of affirmation are good because, you could affirm bad behavior, obviously, and stuff like, raising kids stuff. But, generally you do need to be told that, you do need to be believed in on a very important, it's a fundamental thing that everyone kind of needs.
Oh, yeah.
I have a future kind of thing, or I have worth. And that's what I really like about Villain Hunt or Dark Deku, or however, I usually prefer to call it Deku Black Arc because that's what it's called. But anyway, that's what I really like though about that arc is because it ends with Uraraka looking at Deku for who he is. She sees him like not just as the successor to All Might. She doesn't see him as the problem that All For One is after, or she sees him as a lot of things, but she recognizes most importantly that he's still a person and that he has worth despite being a normal person. Like it's that thing that it's why that Deku falls over. It's the same thing that All Might did for Deku. I mean, we all know this because just look at the pages. But the reason that is that she is affirming something really important, that Deku has worth. And that's what I really like about that arc. And it frustrates me to see people not get that. Like, yes, I think Deku, I know that the apology with Bakugo is a little controversial because Deku doesn't get to, talk about it. And I think there is worth in having that. But I think Deku as a person is not vengeful. He doesn't carry grudges or anything. Like he's a pure-hearted person. So I don't think that, as much as, I might like some introspection in that regard, that's not really the point though of the story, I don't think. Or at least that's not the point of his character. Like he's not a victim is the thing. He's a hero. Like those are, you could argue some interlacing things about his character that way, but that's just what I really like about Villain Hunt, because it looks at Deku as a whole and says, yes, you can be a hero. You're also a person in need of help. And we should all, come together to do that.
Yeah.
Also,
sorry.
No, I wanted to back up to your All Might thing. When people say All Might is wrong, it's more like what All Might wanted, like an individual symbol. The execution is more wrong than the ideology in of itself.
Yeah.
All Might should have had like some sidekicks. But he was always worried about protecting.
Yeah, Night Eye.
Yeah, no,
and
like
he should
on
have
the face
fostered
of
that
it.
relationship, and like he should have had more than just Night Eye.
Yeah,
that's a
on the
fact.
face of it, you're right. Because on the face of it, it's like how exactly could one person hold up all of society, right? Like that is ridiculous. Like you just have to say it. But the symbol is still important.
Night Eye shows that he could have had more sidekicks because he low-key didn't want him as a sidekick at first.
But what I also want to say though is that the thing that we also have to address with All Might is that you ever feel like All Might is a little childish or goofy?
A little.
Sometimes.
He's adorable.
Wait. What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that?
Like, do you ever find like All Might, because like let's take like All Might's first teaching lesson with the kids that we see, right? Don't you kind of feel like he's masquerading as an adult there? Like, hey, newbies, blah, blah, blah.
I've always kind of seen it as him trying to be like that cool dad, trying to connect with his kids, trying to use words like bet and lit and all that, being like, "Hey,
I mean, he
kids,
knows he's All Might.
isn't this a lit day? Bet." It's just like, oh no, don't do that, please.
So,
or that silly thing with the lunchbox. Do you want to eat lunch with me? Kind of thing. Like,
Right.
He has that gap humor vibe to him.
How'd you do, my fellow kids?
Confidence really sells it, so it doesn't really feel like he's too confident of a person to really do that. I think, but I get what you mean. He has a lot of practice putting up a front for society.
My point though is that that's intentional. All Might is stunted.
Yeah,
his ideology at 56 has not changed since. And some people were saying that he was in the middle school uniform when he met
14.
Nana. Since he was 14.
Yep.
That is
all black.
32 years. In
Now
the same mindset.
Yep.
I think I do want to say, and I see your point, and I agreed earlier. Like, it's a silly idea for one person to think they can. In fairness, there is only one for all. Like, he literally only does have one super special power, and we see how quirks affect people's personalities. So, well, I'm not going to say it's not his responsibility or anything, but I just mean I like that interesting aspect to where the quirks and the personalities blend together, and it creates this miasma of what's uncertainty. I guess. Well, I don't know.
That's also why his fighting style is so straightforward. Like, because he has no other reason to divvy it up, because he just overwhelms the opponent with strength. And only in his very last fight does he choose to switch it up. So.
And my point with this is moreover, like, All Might's ideology never really got fleshed out for the same reason that, and this may throw some people through a loop. So I'm going to backtrack a little. I'm going to segue a little bit. Did you know that many studies and psychologists have said that the age at which you have children is the age at which you stop mentally maturing sometimes? And the reason for this is because your mind and your development is no longer focused on yourself, but is instead focused on developing and fostering that child.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. I keep going.
All right.
So similarly, All Might got all these responsibilities as a teenager. Mm-hmm. Because even the like, that's goofy. Like, yeah, it can be comforting, but it's goofy as hell. But it's all stuff and like coping mechanisms and ways that he worked through stuff since he's been a teenager. Because think about it, the strongest are always smiling is the thing that Nana told him directly. If you remember All Might Zero, he throws up while he's on the plane, he's like making himself smile. All Might is effectively seeing what his ideology has done in the way like it's forced Deku to age. So All Might's ideology, yes, it is flawed, but it's flawed because he came up with it as a teenager and never had time to deviate from that. He couldn't afford to deviate from that.
He didn't have time to think. He didn't have time to think about it. But yeah, it made me think about a certain sentence that a friend of mine keep telling that.
You have to add an extra layer to this now, because so at that point, All Might is spending this time fostering his power, learning how to fight, doing all this stuff. And every time he fought and somebody died, every time he fought and somebody got injured, or he missed something because he was in one location and somebody else died, he took that blame and burden on his shoulders and tried to convince himself he needed to be better for a very long time. And obviously by the time like he's older and he can't fight as much, he's being forced to take that step back and look more and more at like, I cannot be everywhere at once. Even when you think about how he talks to Deku about that, he still sounds somber. So it's kind of like he has never had the support system that Deku had, partially because he was young. Gran Torino couldn't and Gran Torino had to step in, which we've never heard about All Might's parents, so it's safe to kind of assume that All Might's probably an orphan and has been since he was a teenager. But Gran Torino's role, he couldn't be a parent to him necessarily, because the duty of One for All was more important than who Toshinori was.
Gran Torino was his second user.
Like,
And this is
right, Gran Torino's
this is basically blending like the core ideology behind and psychology between Superman and Spider-Man together, where Spider-Man, you know, is about responsibility. We see how that screws up Peter's life over and over and over again. It's ridiculous.
Facts.
Yeah. We also see with Superman the question of like he has to make peace very early on in his career, Superman, and he cannot be everywhere at once. So he can, like, if he hears something drastic, that he'll be there to stop it, but he cannot always be there to help. And I actually own like an anthology comic of Superman stories, and the one I remember most about it is a pair of teenage boys who park in front of train tracks in hope to see Superman, and only one of them dodges out of the car and the other dies. And the one boy like becomes bitter towards Superman because he's like, why were you not there to help? And it also shows Lex Luthor and like I can't remember if it was his office or his cell. He's like, I think it was a prison cell where he's like, even if my scheme fails, because because it's the dam was what distracted Superman, so he couldn't get there. The dam breaking distracted Superman, so he couldn't get there to save the boy. And like he said, it's like, if I can create one little grain of hate or whatever, then that's why I do it, even when I'm caught over and over in prison.
It reminds me of tempting God, actually. Like, thou shalt not tempt God, because, you know, there are people who will do things that are crazy, that like put themselves in danger. It's like, oh, God will save me. It's like, no, don't do that. That's actually a neat parallel to Superman. I know he's often called a god among men.
Yes, but I wanted to add something because there was the sentence back. I heard it sometimes was like, strong men make good times make weak men, and weak men make hard times, and so hard times make strong men. And when you think about it, that's what literally happened to All Might right now. As a strong man, he made a time where people were thinking they were as peaceful as possible. That's why he was thinking he took that on himself to make that good time. And what happened is that the moment that he fell, everything, because he was a strong man, everything fell apart. And right now, the new strong man is Deku trying to build up in a better way, you know? But still, it is interesting in general that All Might as a character, he put his life, because we don't know if he had a wife or he had maybe girlfriends, but we don't know nothing about his personal life a lot, because from what we can see is that he always puts everything in the job, everything, the facade of I am the pillar of peace. And yeah, it's quite destructive because the only thing that he can think of as a child is Deku. When you think about it. So yeah, I would love to see more of his tragedy, because his life is a kind of the tragedy also. So yeah, that's my.
All right, y'all, check it out. So the last Christmas gift my fiance ordered for me got here, and it's none other than an Ichigo Funko Pop.
Oh,
let's
that's so cool.
I know, right?
Damn, I need to fucking watch the trailer for the second core. I haven't watched it yet. I forgot.
I still
The
need
first
to finish
core was
core
so
one.
good.
Nobody's
The
ready for that.
anime was so
One.
good, man. The anime was so good of Bleach. I was shocked how good it was.
Speaking of,
The,
you better go.
I was just gonna say, real quick, for fans of the Bleach dub, they just got to the Unohana part.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I've been thinking about rewatching because I already finished, because I watched the sub because it was ahead, it was on time, and I'm like, yeah, I've been waiting years for this.
Everybody watch that shit first.
that dub hits you in the nostalgia really hard. Like I watched the Unohana episodes last night. Oh, 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 top tier.
I can't wait. I'm on my reread, and so far so good. It's actually a bit better than I remembered. So I can't wait to actually catch up.
Like, so my reread was amazing. I loved all the setup. I love the extra volume notes that you can get access to on the Shonen Jump app now. Just like how right after the chapter with Grand Fisher, there's the Ishin character profile page, and it's like he was originally going to be a mortician, and he's designed to look to wear black, but I decided to make it like we decided, and it's like, oh, so he had Ishin being a Soul Reaver planned all the way back here.
Yeah. Also, I have to
finished
go.
the manga,
So,
so
All right, well,
Get your final thoughts out, Thomas.
walking.
Thomas.
Walking.
No, that's me.
Oh, sorry. I couldn't tell.
Wow.
Oh, pale people.
Chalk it up to
Now take
racist.
that as a compliment.
He said,
So yeah, it's just gonna be really quick, really brief. This is gonna be a good year of MHA. I'm just blown away. I've always been blown away by Horikoshi, but this is gonna be MHA's year again. I'm feeling like this first chapter was stellar, awesome. Can't wait to see what's going on, and hopefully you guys are looking forward to another year here at the church. So glad to be back. Glad to be talking to everybody that actually has not only good things to say, but also has legitimate criticisms and can actually talk about it. So that's always just a breath of fresh air. So thank you guys. I'm going to head out, but I'll be back next week.
Stay safe.
all right, bro.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
So tag it off of him and saying reading this and all that. So Cameron Bailey, you talk about we need to market our channel and we are underrated, and people need us to help understand some of that. And Brandon, you co-signing with that. I appreciate y'all for saying that, but I've already tried to be lenient and nice. See, I don't care anybody say me being too like harsh or aggressive or the way I speak on niggas now is because guess what? For 3 years, like 3 years ago prior, until like last year, I tried to be nice and lenient and patient with people time and time again. But no, they want to follow the negative crowd. Don't want to get hardcore. She no leeway, no put like nothing. And niggas don't want to listen to keep repeating the same cycle. I had enough. I'm not finna keep babying niggas. Y'all some grown ass folks. I'm not finna keep holding your hand, teetering, and you over here pulling in the cycle of hypocrisy and negativity and all that shit. Fuck that. So I stopped being nice. You don't want to take nice. You don't want to take the kindness. Fuck it. That's over with. But you can't help who don't want to be saved. Just like the Vestiges trying to tell that nigga Deku. Yeah, you seen that nigga crying, but he ain't looking too much like he really wants you. Like you might see that, but he don't really want your help exactly. Like you can't like Deku wanted to talk to Muscular, like, hey bro, what's going on, man? Like, what makes you like this woman? Like, and the Muscular, like, yeah, nigga, pet all that fucking therapist shit somewhere else. I'm out for blood. Fuck all that shit. I want to kill
So I
nigga.
like killing.
Simple as that. So it's like you can only help some niggas that want to be helped and saved. Those niggas don't want to be helped and saved. If they did, they would have gone Twitter like me or other people and be like, there's nothing on this fucking app. But MHA discourse the same 7 fucking topics every other week. Every week, bro. I'm gone for 3 months. I come back. That's the fucking thing. He's on Chico. Back go to the nigga. I go over 3 months and I come back. I see the same shit I left. It's nothing but this. It's nothing but the same cycle of repetition and negativity. They don't want to save themselves because if they did, they wouldn't be there repeating the same fucking bullshit. It's nothing new. It's the same fucking shit every single time. Negativity, same topics. They're like, all right, bro, listen. They don't want to be saved. If you wanted to be saved, you would have got out of there a long time ago. You don't stay in a toxic relationship and say, I want something happy and healthy, but you're gonna keep getting beat on by your nigga or keep arguing with your other or argue with
eventually it's like you gotta accept that it's you.
Yeah, it's not just them, it's you too. If you want change, you'll make the fucking change. You want to be helped, you'll get the help. It's that quite that simple.
Like here's how it works, right? Is that I can post a stream in every single Discord that I'm in. I can post my streams on Twitter every now and then. But ultimately, people on Twitter, unless you have like 100K followers and stuff like that, they do not care if a content creator posts their own content. It's the same thing as like artist experience. An artist will sometimes post their image, get 5K likes. Somebody will take that image, repost it, and be like, I want her to step on me. Boom, 100K. The only way to really get numbers going is for other people to be posting your content. Other people have to decide they want to post it. I don't think it's right. I think we should be more willing to give content creators a chance. But if you're not a content creator that's already feeding into like, oh, everybody's mad about something, I'm gonna do a thing about how everybody who's mad is right, and there's no possible way they could have ever misconstrued anything. Like if you're not playing into that mindset, you just throwing links into the void. And what makes it worse is that, like, if you go on Facebook, for example, a lot of Facebook groups are like, don't post your content in here. So I can't even go into like a big nerd group and be like, hey, I'm a content creator. I do My Hero Academia streams every Sunday or every time there's a chapter. Boom, come watch. Most of those groups don't allow that. Can't do it on most Reddit places. You can't be like, here, come watch this. Most Reddits are like, no, don't post content.
So see, like this. Let me put y'all on game real quick. All right, I'm about to put y'all niggas on game. This is how it works. All right. Do you go looking for commercials, or the commercials come find you? We all know there's one answer for that. The commercials come find you, correct? Okay. Now from there, let me put it to you like this. Everybody knows what the fuck a brand deal is and a sponsorship. I pay somebody money to promote my shit without throwing a commercial in your face. How many of us actually watch the commercials when we try it on YouTube or whatever, at Spotify, whatever?
Nigga, as soon as that skip ad come on, I skip that.
Skip it, right? But if you watching, everybody knows who the fuck Caleb City is. He does a paid promotion through a skit because I like Caleb City and I fuck with him, and it's during the skit, or he makes it actually consumable and entertaining. Then I'll give that nigga the time of day. Then from there, I see what the product, and I'm like, oh, this is actually cool. But if you just throw that shit in my face when I'm not looking for it and trying to promote it, like, here, yo, pick me, I'm going to ignore your ass. But if you get somebody I like in the influencer and somebody like that promote it through like other ways, it's like, hey, yo, check this out in a cool way, it's different. Because not only do they have rapport with that person or like that person, they have a sort of an influence or something over me. You know, that's like a relationship type beat. Then I'm more willing to hear what they got to say or give them the time of day. It's like if a nigga on the street was like, hey, bro, check out my music. I'm like, no, nigga. But if your boy be like, hey, bro, check out my music, then you can be like, okay, I fuck with you, so I got you type beat. It's more so when you go out of your reach to start promoting and stuff, the more harder it is. Like, you yourself specifically. That's why companies go with brand deals and sponsorships and shit like that. Because it's easier to get other people to promote your shit. And another thing too, niggas like gatekeeping or not physical promote. Just like Aniki said, the nigga who made that picture got 10K, right? But the nigga who posted the same picture that bad bitch stole and just said, step on me, and everybody agreed with that message, that got 100K. But you'll never know who the original artist is unless
saying everybody agree with that message after saying that is that funny.
But the thing is that the reason why I chose that phrase though is because you'll see like somebody be like, step on me, and then somebody will be like, hey, yo, that's facts, I need it.
Like, you need it. Then how many niggas you gonna be like, yo, sauce?
Nah, niggas just said everybody agrees with it so casually, like.
But yeah, so
hold on, just like that that Krillin picture with the big booty Android 18. I know y'all remember that shit when I was going around Twitter. The big booty Android 18, the Krillin picture.
I'm trying to see if
I was thinking about Ben from RDC World. There's that one picture of him getting stepped on at a car. If you know, you know.
You just reminded me that there was somebody at the cons getting paid to spit in people's mouths.
Okay.
Oh, so like the Amaranth type, like they go to like a Twitch con or something, and then they ask them to step on them, and they have them spit in their mouth. It's mank.
So basically, what you just told me was, I need to go be a manager, find a bad bitch that's down for nasty stuff, and then Okay, never mind. I'm gonna keep that resting on myself.
It sounds like you're finna describe pimping, and I'm a little alarmed.
All I got to say is 2023. I'll be making extra bags. I ain't gonna tell them how, but just know
those plans.
Y'all gonna see East on Feet Finder.
Hey, who did my sister text you my plans for this year?
Hold up, let me see if she sent them to me.
Cause you a little bit too close to the truth, buddy. I don't like that.
All right, let's get back on topic. Oh, okay, so the Horikoshi New Year.
Oh my god, he was close.
The Horikoshi New Year sketch. All
the Merkel one.
Do your thing, Horikoshi.
Listen. That sketch and the opening have really showed the community's biases towards certain groups of people. Like, for example, the sketch has shown a lot of homophobia among. If you ever seen like the quote tweets and and in the comments of Hori's sketch, and in the end and the opening where people are using the uraraka holding his hands to show their misogyny. It's crazy. Oh, and Deku really did pull off the Merkel costume. That's my boy.
The weirdest behaviors always come out of this stuff, because like the fact that like I'm glad that I have a lot of shit discourse muted, which
I wish I had that.
That reminds me of the tweet that was like, shippers are way better than power scalers, and I'm like, nah, they the same. They cut from the same cloth. Y'all doing the same
I know that
thing.
One funny tweet had me like one tweet had me fucking bust out laughing about that shit. Because like, well, the power scalers don't got pronouns in it. Like,
I think if your first thought looking at like the outfits are like, like if it's sexual, I get it, but at the same time, like, I think going too far down that rabbit hole, pun not intended.
See what you did there.
It kind of says more about you than I think the artist. Again, the whole and also the homophobia. Like I remember a tweet was like, "Oh, Horikoshi's at it again." It's like my MC would never do that. I'm like,
oh yeah.
Oh, it was hilarious because they listed off a bunch of people who ended up cross-dressing at different points in the manga canonically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like, my protectants would never do this. Bro, Natsu, all these would never be like Deku. It's like,
nah, bro.
They were like,
and then they throw up like Asta or something. It's like, my MC would never do that. I'm like,
Asta would 100% do that.
One of the people they listed was Tanjiro, and it's like, Tanjiro canonically dressed up like a girl and was working at a brothal.
Which is funny because it came out recently.
I think it was a whore. What do you mean? It was a whore. He was literally out there shaking his ass. What do you mean? The fuck?
And my comment on the OP, okay, is like, this is storyboarded by Yutaka Nakamura. He has not storyboarded an opening in 20 years. 20 years.
Yo, who did they? Yo, them niggas got somebody got the Riz.
Yeah. And for those of you who don't know who Yutaka Nakamura is, he's also known as Utapon. He's also the guy who draws all those freaking cube shots in the show. Mm-hmm. He's the guy who did like he did Deku versus Todoroki. That's what he's most notorious for.
The Ida too, right?
He did. He also did the Bakugo escape, and they had to stop him from putting Bakugo into like the stratosphere. And I'm like, no, there needs to be a limit.
The hand holding.
Yo, that nigga gonna have people thinking that the power scale gonna be crazy. That bit had Bakugo fly into outer space and shit.
That shit was beautiful.
And it just goes crazy in this opening. It's like, I think everything from like when is it? I think everything from like the swinging up until
once it hits the chorus, that's when Nakamura comes in.
I think that's all him, and it's insane. And he just pops off, and you have Hayashi supervising like the first half, and then of course like there's the ending bit with Shigaraki and Deku that's so good, and it's like like people have taken note of this is like the way like the Shigaraki All For One form kind of gets peeled off him is kind of like airy with overhaul kind of just evaporating.
I'm watching
anyway, I just find it
right now.
Yeah, this incredible OP. And people are talking about who's holding whose
Chips,
hand.
yeah. Because
Yeah,
once it
that's
came out and it was
exhausting.
leaked by
it's like-
the leakers, it was just shipping.
And they're pissed about this too.
Yeah,
This is crazy. They're legitimately pissed about this. They're like,
Yeah.
which is fucking nuts because Bakugo has gotten so much attention in most of these OPs.
Yeah, but Bones hates Bakugo. Like they
Part
hate
of the last
Bakugo.
OP.
I can't
Right?
even. Yeah.
And it's like, and it's just you like these 7 seconds basically. It's kind of become a meme already. It's like 7 seconds has done more damage to this community than anything else. And it's just why? Why are you so fixated on this? Why are you so fixated on who specifically is close?
This why.
It's just,
That's why I
they
do not.
okay. So I try not to draw attention to certain users, but like one of them legitimately thinks that like the whole point of Ochako's arc is that she's going to have nothing with Deku to do with Deku moving forward. Which I said this is like beyond having your favorite shit or whatever or any of that dumb bullshit. You're just a fucking moron if you think that. I'm sorry, I have to say this. You're a fucking moron if you see this. If you see Ochako having these really big, significant interactions with Deku, and it's the same thing as thinking, Bakugo is going to be not going to be Deku centric. It's just like,
Yeah, Volca mean.
they
nigga, I would
actually
never-
read this
Yeah.
and take that information away from it. It's like the exact opposite.
Volca mean nigga. I would never say something that mean.
Yeah, like people on the opening being like, "Oh, like Uraraka here is replacing like Hida's and Bakugo's like contributions." And it's like that's not the case. Like Uraraka, they all are important, but Uraraka is arguably the one who keeps him. Yeah, she got him to stay. They all helped him get him there, but he was going to go there and leave.
He was literally about to walk away. He was literally about to walk away.
And Uraraka is the one who held his hand and brought him back, just like in the opening.
But anyway, like again, I love the OP. It's gonna be a rough ending. It's gonna be rough to see this thing.
Hey, it's gonna be a rough ending for some people. Fuck them. I'm good.
Because here's the thing: is that the odds of any of the main characters, from what I have seen, having an unsatisfactory conclusion for me are very low.
Mm-hmm.
Horikoshi's in his bag, yeah.
He set everything up so well that like you see where things are going day one. It's just a question of how we get there.
Because one of the things that like has been pointed out in the chat, which we haven't addressed this whole stream, and I feel a little bad about that, is that there's a portal next to Shigaraki.
Well, okay, I was going to address that because Tyler had brought it up. He said something about that. I was going to address that.
And
do you mind if I get my final thoughts in soon?
Oh yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, do that right now. I don't want to make you have to be delayed or anything like that in case that extra time can matter.
Thank you so much. Anyways, yeah, I know those topics are really hot, but I did want to mention a few things in the chapter. So that opening with the hand, I'm sure you guys talked about it. Like the question of who that is, it's old and kind of withered. Like for me personally, I do think it's All Might, but at the same time, that looks almost too much. I will say that this opening page is actually a reference to the previous chapter title. Some things don't localize well. And case in point, this one. So the previous title is Storms Over Flowers, which doesn't really mean much in English, but it's the whole anything can happen at any given moment. It's very poetic language, and Horikoshi tends to like this kind of stuff. Unfortunately, things get localized out. It can't be helped, but I suppose. But it reminds me of the whole. Yeah, it reminds me of the whole zygote thing. Like that is such a weird thing to say, and so the localizers or the people localized it out at the beginning, but then it comes back later, and it's like, yeah, sometimes you just gotta let the Japanese be themselves. Anyway, yeah, so this whole thing with the flowers blooming and the wind blowing, like that's a That's an artistic motif that Horikoshi seems to be running with. The petal slipping through the fingers there. I really want to know who that ends up being. But it feels almost like post-war because we're not in Sakura season right now. So this just feels really out of left field for the manga, but I'm going to take note of it. Let's see. The chapter goes right into Aizawa's worst nightmare, just the worst reunion possible. And Monoma gets knocked down. So I was worried about how this would go down because the easiest solution is to kill one of them, and obviously that might still happen. But this is still a really dramatic way to interrupt erasure. It's impossible to really know where this goes, but I'm hoping they're safe. And of course, the dramatic Shigaraki giving birth to himself is just insane. And also, I'm sorry for that phrasing, but that's literally what happens. Like, holy. And UA is apparently falling, so that's great. This is a Hollywood movie plot, basically, and I love it. Like, I just, when you have floating cities falling to the earth, like Sonic Adventure 2 with the Space Colony arc, or like with the Avengers, like that's my shit. Like that is just Kino peak. I love it. Like this is awesome, and this explosion is glorious too. I don't know how Horikoshi does it on a regular basis. He'll just drop something that makes you go, whoa. And yeah, we get that. We're always eating when Horikoshi does his thing. Let's see. Oh, okay. So obviously the dramatic stuff with Skeptic is also going to come back later, but Skeptic's going to the implications of Skeptic just playing with the security system is insane. We'll see how far he gets with that. And finally, of course, so Shigaraki is in the driver's seat again. And so remember last time when AFO said he still had something important to do? I think he knows or suspected Shigaraki was gonna, usurp him and take the driver's seat because he's been complimenting his tenacity in their tug of war, and how Shigaraki has not fully caved into him. I think he knows that. And that's why he wants to be there. I think he wants to pull something so that he is somehow in the driver's seat with Shigaraki. That's what I think he's trying to do. That's why he's trying to get away. That's why it's important for Hawks to stop him. But I mentioned on Twitter, like, I hate Chekhov's guns so much because when AFO says there's something I need to do still, he's gonna do it. I know people, I know that's controversial for some people, but he's going to get back in the driver's seat, I think. And so Deku will probably still have to save Shigaraki, which is good, I think. I want best of both worlds here. I want Shigaraki to fight Deku on a personal level, but I also want Deku to be who he is and save him. Like we mentioned earlier with the villain hunt stuff, but my annoyance with the reaction to from Twitter on that is that people don't seem to like who Deku is. Deku isn't a grudgeful person. He's not someone to ignore his friend's help. And I think he did change from that arc, even if he hasn't, fully reflected on it to us. It's hard to look at the scenes from Villain Hunt and think Deku didn't take anything from what his friends did. I'm just waiting for more from that. But anyways, I spun out of control there. Sorry. Anyways, that's what I think will happen in this chapter. AFO's on his way to, get back, put Shigaraki back in his place, so to speak, much to his fans' chagrin, I'm sure. And then, of course, the chapter ends with La Brava coming back, which is fantastic. We also learn the drawback to Deku's quirk, which is terrifying. Suffocation is horrific among many ways of dying. Well, I guess he's not suffocating. I guess it's just oxygen deprivation, which is probably still going to feel like suffocating, but just yikes. But yeah, no, I'm super happy that we are finally delivered on something like this with La Brava coming back. That means Gentle cannot be far behind. And I'm really looking forward to that. We ate so much this weekend. I didn't even get to gush about how good I felt the anime was, but I will say that Uraraka's scene hits a lot harder when you have that recap, I think, because all of that stuff built up. Like we saw the complete picture of the war, and then we see this hopeless aftermath. And I think that actually was a really smart decision, combined with the new opening and ending, painting everything so bleak. This hit really hard. So honestly, I have to hand it to Bones. This is probably going to be the best season, and not just because of the content they're adapting. Like I believe they're going to really go hard with this upcoming arc tubes. So yeah, that's my piece. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I got that. All right. So anyways, thanks for having me, guys, and Happy New Year to everyone.
You too.
Wish you guys the best.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too, Seth.
Make sure to stay safe.
Yeah, I will. Bye-bye. God bless.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
I got to say this though, real quick, because I got 3 picks for the hand. It's either the most outlandish one, but not really crazy, because she was at the end of the chapter, will be Gentle, ready to get his back in. Because once again, I don't know why people think this nigga went to some maximum security prison. Nigga most likely got a slap on the wrist. He was
No. They were like straight up said to him, like, okay, look, we know you made some mistakes, but if you work with us, we'll try and make things easy for you.
Exactly. Like literally, he was on his robbing her shit. He was literally not even doing any vigilante shit. He wasn't doing nothing that would really cause you actual shit. And they was like, yo, it's been months. Pretty sure even if he did do some jail time, wouldn't have been a whole year's work, because he was doing good at the same time too. They're like, yo, bro, only people that can like tell them like change your life around, and you got to change. And there was
most likely got community service.
Yeah,
it was extremely petty crimes too. Like, he didn't ever actually steal anything.
No, he didn't. He was literally
it was for
just
show, for
shit.
spectacle.
Yeah, like for spectacle. The most he did was fight those little heroes one time, and that was it.
That's probably what got their attention, was seeing that he could dispatch of some heroes. Like, do we really want to cart this guy off to prison, or do we start him on the path to rehabilitation?
Exactly. After, especially given what happened with All Might and shit like that, and they was already like changing shit around, stuff like that. But that's the most outlandish one. Second would be, that's not outlandish, it's All Might, because we haven't seen that nigga. So, but look at it from this point of view. You have LaBrava, already in there, and then you got the detective, the chief, now he's the chief now. You got him in there, and you know him and All Might were tied together. We still didn't see All Might. So, but you know, All Might knows about they all know about AFO regenerating all this, that, and the other, and you know, the General Hospital, everything going south. So it would make sense that All Might is making.
It's interesting. It's interesting you bring up All Might, because there's something I was thinking about, and I was thinking about how, you know, MHA kind of takes all the tropes and typical stuff from the hero's journey and just kind of, and it just swerves them in slightly different directions, where you do follow the same path, but things are just different. And I realized that Night Eye's prediction about All Might is the prophecy element to the story. I didn't realize that until like I started really thinking about it. Like, because a lot of these other like even Naruto, Harry Potter, they'll have some sort of prophecy, but it's like, you know, it's about a chosen one. Who is the person in MHA that's kind of been getting all that chosen one messianic symbolism? Because it's not Deku. It's not Deku. Who is it?
It actually is fucking Toshinori Yagi. Is that his name, right?
Well, that, but who would you say like is the messianic type in MHA? Like, what have we been talking about on these streams?
I'm keeping it a complete buck with you.
Shigaraki, in my eyes, he's the most literally revived. Like Jesus, he revived today.
Yes, it's Shigaraki. So who is the chosen one, you think, in the prophecy of MHA? So Shigaraki. And what is the prophecy about? It's about All Might dying. So yeah, I think it's pretty clear it's Shigaraki at this point. So that's still hanging in the air, and that he's back. I disagree with Seth. I think All For One is going to try something, and it's going to sort of succeed, but not the way he wants.
I see. I did disagree too, but then he wasn't here to really combat his thing, so I didn't want to be.
Yeah.
That's why. But I was going to touch on it, but not like directly, because he wasn't here to, like, you know, elaborate.
Yeah.
So I don't think Seth will take that as a personal affront.
No.
Because we talk about whether or not we expect Shigaraki to stay in control or not. I'm in the camp that I expect Shigaraki to stay in control.
Listen, at this point in this stretch we at, regardless of what happens, I would have to keep staying like this. Don't really care about part 2. Regardless, we had an end stretch of this story, right? You're gonna need your main villain he already has very little time to do anything. Highly doubt. I don't know if he's gonna kill any other heroes there, but the best he gonna get at this point is control, putting a little pause to Deku, and have to kill All Might. Like, he gonna need all the screen time he can get now that he back. And I was going to touch on that, to touch on Shigaraki even further, and what Self said. I do disagree with him. Once again, the video that people have not watched on this channel, the Holy Trinity. Aniki touched on this even earlier in the stream. I do think that parasitic vestige, because there's a lot of things that don't add up. And people always like, and then certain people be like, oh, it was obvious he always wanted his body, this, that, and other. I'm like, nah, don't give a fuck what you talking about. There are some things in that shit that just don't fucking add up. That just don't make sense for this nigga the entire time. I wanted his body. Like, even retroactively, retcon, or like retroactively looking back, I'm like, nah, there's still some shit that just don't add up, bro. Like, they just don't add up. So I feel like the vestige is moving differently than the actual person himself. And then once again, the roller Sith type beat. I feel like, see, I could be wrong, and he never really gave a fuck about this nigga. I don't give a fuck, because Shigaraki gonna get his W over that nigga at the end of the day. That's all I care about, all right? I don't care about being right in the sense that whether he cared or not. That's relevant to me wanting Shigaraki to do his shit and be his nigga. He's gonna do that. Now, my thing is, there's still a possibility, like, he's on this, like, he's looking just to push Shigaraki into what he needs Shigaraki to be, type beat. The real off one. He really looking like, nah, I really want you to take me out. Don't be following my command. I know you talking your mouth, you talking your shit, you're not gonna follow me, but I need you to be able to prove it too. Put your money where your mouth is. And you've been doing it, but I need a full crown W. There is no more Melvin. There is no more Gumaru. There is no more off one. It is only I tomorrow Shigaraki, the king type beat.
Well, that's what I feel.
Yeah, I feel like that. The real off one may have that. I feel like that's the kind of the play. Because like I said, there's a lot of shit that don't really like, because they have to like, oh, the other me. They have like, I pass the baton tomorrow.
Well, yeah,
like, I gotta go say so it's like, nigga, is it
Aniki,
tomorrow? Like, what is it?
What Aniki pointed out as well, about like how All For One was fighting Deku in like the same position All Might was in. That's precisely what I was getting at in the months leading up to Shigaraki coming back, was that I think the point is that All For One does not get to use all his quirks, and that while All For One kind of loses and gets dequirked, it's going to be Shigaraki that uses the full potential of All For One, just as Deku is using the full potential of One For All. And like also, like, you'll see different parallels between certain characters, and I've noticed that Deku and All For One similarities and the relationship between Deku and Shigaraki kind of matches the relationship between All For One and Yuichi. And what did All For One do? Is like, well, he unintentionally created his own worst enemies through creating One For All because he wanted his brother to be with him. And he's still trying to do that, right? He's still trying to be reunited with his brother, but not a true reunion, but just to possess him as another thing. And I think as the opposite of that, Deku is also going to unintentionally create his worst enemy by pushing Shigaraki to become the best version of himself, the best villain. And
trip up.
Yeah, it's this back and forth relationship.
So
that I find fascinating.
I kind of want to point out that like what you're saying is true, but then also, as we were talking about the differences here, is that when I think of, because obviously personality does get imprinted into the quirks. So when I look at Vestige for one, I think that's primarily the quirk's personality, but there's a layer of it that is centered around, All For One, the person. And that All For One, the person, is the one who's like, you'll be mine, little brother. Like, that's his bit of consciousness or part of like who he is. But it's worth noting that they straight up say that the only person who imbued an actual piece of his consciousness into the quirk of One For All was All Might, because he didn't have one. So that makes it interesting to think that like there's data from All for One, but the quirk itself is technically, at least if we're using the same logic that One for All is, it's not actually All for One's consciousness within that quirk.
And
That
you
is
also
just-
have to consider what happens with like Shigaraki when he gets the quirk. It's like he's just compelled to steal, right? Like it's not something he can help. He's just compelled to steal stuff. And while I think All for One was always a bad person, I'm kind of curious, how much of that affected his own personality.
No. So I think you might not have been here for that part, but I was talking about how Yoichi has a name.
Yeah.
We don't, so that confirmed, and like we know that All for One at some point his last name is Shigaraki. We have never been given All for One's actual name.
We just got the nigga face.
That's a bigger mystery than what he looks like when you look at the grand scheme of things. He's always been identified via the quirk, which is part of why I see it as like three different entities at this point. You have Shigaraki, you have like Shigaraki and Tenko, which is like a split personality type deal. Then you have Vestige for One, and then you have All for One.
Once again,
and
the Holy Trinity.
When we talk about how having All for One pull up and kind of accept his fate or die out, because whatever the purpose is for his body and the differences in how they talk, because, and as E said, for what purpose, if Shigaraki was truly just to be a vessel, did he need to be able to be out on his own? Did he need to be able to foster leadership skills? Why did he need to have his own allies? Why did he need to make friends? Like All for One didn't even have to show up at Camino if it was truly that simple. Like if that was the only goal.
And that,
y'all know one big difference I've noticed between All for One, the person, and the Vestige. The Vestige yells a lot. Like the Vestige gets very emotional at times, versus the real All for One, who's always got that poker face on, always trying to deceive people.
Yeah, and he just now.
The Vestige perfectly doesn't mind going into his true intentions. Like he's not trying to manipulate anybody.
Like he just like
because the All for One Vestige is like, yeah, I'll just take anything. I'll just snatch it up real quick. Doesn't even matter if it's useful. And that's part of how like All for One is like, I don't remember when I got this quirk, or it's like a mix of other things or whatever. But the All for One with the mindset of giving it to Tomura was sitting there like, Fiber Master is a meticulous quirk that has like a high skill floor. You need to really train with it. That doesn't fit Tomura's disposition. Now, if I'm All for One, and when you think about it, the Fiber Master and the idea of like being highly manipulative, being strategic, those are all things that technically do fall in line with All for One's personality. So he could have still taken that quirk for himself. But his idea was that I want to make sure that whatever Tomura has is good for Tomura. When he has Makia sent to him, it's so that he can take the test and he can become stronger and he can conquer Makia himself. It's and like, because the idea of handing Makia off to Shigaraki, letting him be the master before he even has inherited the quirk of All for One is odd, because again, you don't need to do that. He could have just been like, it's me, All for One, I'm inside this body.
And you could tell, because even in the anime now, we wonder how the voices was going down, and you could tell it's two different people. Like the fucking glitch effect of it overgoing, and then you.
It had to be like that though.
And then he knows Makia can smell that nigga inside of him too, so he would have known all this shit before. So it's just like again, the math don't matter. Like what are you really aiming for? And that's all that stuff that was set up in the show, like from the talk about the characters and their motivations and not making sense of the actions they did. Narratively writing the story, if you really want to offer one, you could have just had Shigaraki be the prince character, like loyalty to the king type beat. But that was never.
I love when you say that, honestly, because that really could have been the case. Like
you could have had Shigaraki be like the loyal knight, like the right hand pawn, like you know what I'm saying, and
Like
everything would have worked just as fine. He could have
just
been
as
just like, bro. He could have been just like Ujiko, like basically combine Shigaraki and Ujiko's characters in this like
like
hypothetical prince type scenario.
essentially
Like,
like yo, my body is for you the vessel. It's even like in Mash was like, all right, they got the main boss, but then his son is like the strongest nigga around, and he fighting like mad. And it's like, it's like he's loyalty to my father type beat. I am the strongest
yo,
one.
it's crazy because it works in the story too, because it could have been like, oh, he saved me. Like it could have been the exact same as it was in the story, except like Shigaraki himself. Like, oh, he saved him from da 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 da, and then he was just loyal ever since. It's like, you know,
Exactly.
he
Just
raised him. Off one was like, oh, I wanted to do what everybody else did. I wanted a successor. Like that still works with this Prince type angle. Like everything.
Everything, but it's like nah, just but you had, but it's like Pookie said, it's true. Why have NBA if Shiggy didn't matter? What was the point? Establish his own identity, liberation. I have all my past memories, and then he still be like, "I fuck it, I'm still finna destroy everything." Like you could have really had this nigga be like, "Oh my lord, my savior." Like you could have had the loyalty to all for one. Like they would have had the plan to go bust that nigga out. Like nah, me and my niggas running crazy. That was his plan. I got my army. Nobody was thinking about all for one, but all for one. So like again and again, it's like. He said, "Yo, master, this is this is my shit, my show." Again and again, he's always been on his own. Like, yo, I'm running the game now, bro. Like, you had your time. I already lost my respect for you. And I've even seen where a case where they be like, I had to avenge my master, like type. Be like, even on the evil side, in multiple cases, it could have been like, we need to resurrect the all great, almighty one, or like,
oh, you got that going on in Boruto right now with Code.
See, so it's like you could have had like a fucking case where like the all great powerful off one. We need to release him from his prisons, his shackles. Like you could have had that, but you intended on making Shigaraki his own character, having his own identity. So he needs to keep that and go on off with that shit. Because even then, he's been battling and fighting this nigga the entire time. His own
you know
identity.
what's funny, bro? Him being on that, oh, we got a free all for one type shit would have better built up all for one as a character too. Because it would have like he would have actually been a goal in mind. Like
dead ass. But it wasn't like
I'm
that.
Sorry. I'm sorry. I'm still caught up on the fact that Anarchy reads Boruto.
No, bro, really? No.
I tried to just ignore that and just let it slide. I was like,
I'm reading also now Boruto. What's the problem with that?
It's just that Boruto is painfully average. That's all.
We just gonna wait. See, listen.
But it's okay. I have my average series that I read.
I'm gonna have to dive in at some point. I saw some pages that were basically like an attempt at a JoJo fight. I was like, okay. So
the NPC said the main counter to this is the off one may have needed Shigaraki's willpower and singular emotion of hatred to grow this strong in order to bridge the Vestiges gap, and combat their will, their combined will. Combat their combined will. So I mean at the same time, like no, because what like he wanted to consume that nigga too. Like entirely consume him and have the entire thing. It's like would he just be working as a muppet from the inside or something? Because even the hatred don't seem to like fix that either.
My thing is that
you could eat in a nigga.
The hatred thing, cool, like it kind of works, but it's like the flimsiest thing holding that together, right? And in addition to that, the leadership, the training of the physicality, none of that is necessary. He could have let Shigaraki stay a shut-in and then modded his body.
It's funny how it turned out though, because like during the fight, like Vestige All for One is like, this is great, they can't touch me. And then the second he realizes Tenko still exists, he's like, oh no. Because like that just screws up his whole plan. right? And like it's a symbiotic relationship, right? There's a back and forth. Because yes, Vestige All for One is effectively a parasite using Shigaraki as a host, but the more he feeds on Tomura's anger and negative qualities, the more he sucks that into himself, the more he left Tomura's remaining good qualities and neutral qualities behind. And that's what allowed him to put up a fight in conjunction with just, Deku beating the shit out of him. And it's like he literally beat this motherfucker into freedom. That's what he did.
See, and it's funny. I forgot who was talking about that earlier, but at the same time, somebody was like, "It's like this." Now these two are going to take the fight between Shigaraki and Deku specifically. Before it was literally Bagumru basically All for One. It wasn't Shigaraki getting his ass beat. It was fucking All for One getting his ass, the brakes beat off his ass.
Yo, y'all know what's funny? You know what's crazy to me now? It's like All for One cannot see. Yo, All for One can't see Deku 1v1. He can't.
No,
he got
can't.
smoked. He can't see Deku or Endeavor 1v1.
He tried to roll up on him with his entire effing army. It's like, we're just going to kill you right here and now. That's what he tried to do before Deku no Yama pulled the Uno reverse card. Whoops!
Nah,
he got our nice.
Yo, he wanted to jump him. He wanted to jump him with everybody, but yo, he really can't see him 1v1 for real.
He really can't. He don't want that smoke. And you see
Also, there's something
he
I
can't
wanted
see
to highlight.
Shigaraki 1v1 either.
This is what's so ironic with All for One, though, is like he doesn't really count Deku as a person. He just kind of sees One for All, the quirk itself, as his main obstacle, which is ironic.
Projection.
Yeah, which is ironic considering, Anaki's projection. Like he himself is just become a non-person because he's surrendered himself entirely to his quirk.
Yeah. So speaking on that too, and like this projection thing, once again, that fight wasn't even like Deku. Deku was using a power, but like that wasn't Deku. That was like it was like almost like an avatar type thing. Like it was like the avatar of all the Vestiges using Deku because he was like he had everybody back at him, but he was like, Chekhov's quirk, Banjo's quirk, Seki uses quirk.
I didn't really fully put together what happened in that fight until like I reread it recently, like what Deku was really trying to do there. Because I went back and looked at it. Like, so what he was really trying to do, because Mirio told him, like, this is a line that I really forgot about. Like, when I reread this line, I was like, wait, Mirio said that? So Mirio said, he told this man, he said, it's as if the harder we fought back, the more he lost control. That was the only thing Deku needed to hear in that moment. Because I was really thinking, like, yo, the way he was beating his ass was kind of disrespectful. Like, he was really beating his ass. But I'm like, wait, like, you want to save Shiggy, right? Like, why are you beating his ass like this? Like, you got his stomach blasted open and shit. Like, you fucking him up. But he had to do that. Because we had Shigaraki coming back this chapter, he needed to get fucked up so he could, you know what I'm saying, take control.
That's what
that's my point. And it was like, it was All for One. And remember, this is what I said before. It's the Vestiges and Deku. They're like using Deku as a conduit, and they're getting their licks back on All for One. It's not Shigaraki getting beat up by Deku or Deku and Shigaraki fighting. No. It's not barely Deku on All for One. Deku just more so of a conduit. It's really the Vestiges. He's like second uses quirk. This uses quirk. He's not using like your black whip one, your triple point or like one shot point. He's not just using like it's not like he creating his own moves and using the names. He's like, yo, Nana's quirk this, that quirk like that, like combining them. But it's more so those niggas were getting their licks back on All for One of all the thing. And Deku was like, y'all really trying to get this nigga in. But now it's gonna be Deku and Shigaraki. Yeah, Shigaraki here with all his quirks. He got everything back. Now he really gets to like All for One was getting hold, rightfully so, but now he's like, yeah, nigga, now I get to flex with all my fucking power. And it's gonna be Deku like the users ain't gonna be like, yo, he ain't gonna be tossing the nigga around like a chew toy and beating his ass like he did All for One with no quirks.
Also, real quick, I want to substantiate what Tarnish said. Chapter 368, pages 4 through 5. All for One is like the two have achieved a perfect melding, but perhaps it's because All for One has been alive longer that he's the one who's in charge. Actually, that might be like the narrative, but and then that's when you see that like you got Tenko literally busting out of his chest. Interestingly enough, when you cut back to Shigaraki, like Melvin on the surface, you have All for One holding his hand over that same spot in his chest, saying, "I don't know what you're screaming, but you won't get your ideal pie in the sky." Ending there. When we cut back to Deku, that's immediately when Mirio goes into the breakdown. He's like, "Hang on, I'm not so sure about all that. When I made a rude accusation a while ago, it was like he was suddenly possessed by someone else. He suddenly started raging out and freaking out like a child. Nothing about that suggests that they achieved a perfect melding. It's as if the harder we fought back, the more unstable he got."
Literally, I was like, wait, I forgot about that line.
And as soon as he says that, Nana appears, spots Kotaro on the fingers and says, "Izuku, he's still in there." And that's when All for One immediately resorts to attacking, because the thing is that we're not 100% certain, but the fact is that the Vestiges did mention that they have a link and they can kind of sense that All for One's not in condition.
Yo, we finally got like the explanation.
That's
this
awesome.
chapter, like the
So-
link. It's they resonate.
Guys, wait, guys, wait. I think he's talking.
So she senses, like, she's like, he's still in there. And notice, it's the second Nana pops out, All for One gets into the action. He's like, "Enough idle chit chat. I'll be taking back One for All." Immediately charges in because he senses Nana is active now. So that sensory is going both ways. He senses Nana, realizes that they're going to figure it out for sure, and immediately wants to try to put Deku down. And then that's when he starts getting ragdolled, because Deku's like, "All right, bet." That's when he hits him with the black chain. That's when, you know, he switches into gear and just starts punching and whooping his ass.
It's so cathartic, because like all this time, All for One had intentionally been holding back on One for All users so that he could steal the quirk, and he only kills them when they pass it on. Like with Deku, like he was fully intending to kill him right there, like just full out, and he can't do it because like underestimated Deku.
I feel like he hates Deku more than most of the users. Like I feel like his hatred for Deku is getting there.
No, I don't really think so. I think that he maybe hates his guts, because when you think the way that he hates people, the All for One, he really hated Shimoa, Nana, because her philosophy about love, I was smiling and stuff. He was really didn't feel like it, because he considered her weak. He considered her weak when he compared to the other people. That's why he was maybe hating her. But the guy that he feared was All Might. He hates because he's fearing is All Might. All Might, he was really, the hate that he had was mixed. He came out of fear. That's why that he hated All Might so much. I mean, that's what I think about it.
I was about to say that he probably hates Deku a lot because he knows like that he was quirkless. But then I just thought like All Might was quirkless too, but like, you know, he never gave him no disrespect, oddly enough.
That's because Toshinori been different since the get-go. They already said, yo, this nigga didn't need to adapt and grow and train. Like he was just already had his shit on go mode.
Now All Might is a beast. All Might is really a beast.
Like they was like, yo, he just naturally built different, like off rip. Deku had to work, you know, up for his shit just to get to this point. Now it took him quite a while. But Toshinori off the rip, he was like, yo, nigga, I'm ready to go. I got all this shit.
It's also worth noting, though, that All Might was at that battle, a freshly handed off One for All user, when he was fighting Nana and dipped. And then they don't see each other again for years. So I think the first time that All for One actually had a real interaction with All Might was probably when All Might punched his lining off. Like All Might came back to Japan and just started running phase. Different people under All for One losing their job, losing everything they control, losing their, you know, bases, all kind of stuff. So the perspective is different. Because with Deku, it's like, this is just a teenager. Teenagers are insecure. I can get inside of his mind. You nip this in the bud early. Woo, woo, woo. I got all this experience. There's a gulf of, there's over a century of experience gap between me and this kid. I got this. with All Might, it was, damn, I couldn't find him. He came back and whooped everybody's ass.
Including mine.
Damn, I ain't got no line in, no ears, no eyes, no nose.
Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah, like the thing is, like I think with Deku is like Deku is more immediately getting into like his end game goal, like he's getting in the way. The thing with All for One is like he's so sociopathic, he doesn't really even have the emotions to obsess over somebody like that. It's just whoever's like in his immediate line of fire, he focuses all his energy towards. And that's like he basically says that like with the hologram, right? When he's like, I don't care about All Might anymore. It's all about you.
Which is Cap. We know that was Cap.
Yeah, which is Cap.
He's still riding All Might nuts.
Mm-hmm. Like he was still scared during the Star and Stripe patch. It's like, how are you still getting in my way?
Bro, that old bitch ass nigga be lying through his teeth. He swear to God, I don't care about that big old. I don't care about this. I don't take a heart, dead lady. Like, boy, stop playing. You know she plays your stupid ass, boy. Stop the cap. Stop the cap. One. They be getting your ass sometimes.
So like to see this little kid just like basically beat his ass and like still get in his way is after all his planning and everything. Like again, he thinks it's unfair, irrespective of the fact that he stacks the odds against his enemies and is like completely unfair to them. He's like, why is this happening to me? He's just whining.
I'm the GOAT.
Yeah.
Like,
and also that's also what I love about Shigaraki's like re-entry this chapter. He's like, you wanted to, it's no use. I am your villain. It's like he's basically saying is like, no, ignore that old guy. I don't care about that. You and me got beef. Sell it.
It's
That's
between
great.
you and me.
Yep.
So
Yo, I want to, bro. I'm so mad that we're like Horikoshi is kind of robbing me of Vestige for One dialogue. Like, fuck Melvin. I want to hear Vestige for One talk about how he can't control Shigaraki.
I want to see that nigga struggle and squirm and be mad.
He looked like he got the runs on some of them panels, holding his stomach. Like,
yeah.
Look, there's a beauty to the size of the L's off one has taken this arc. Because even though the villain faction is pulling up and they have the advantage right now because Deku's got to catch his breath, Bakugo is still incapacitated, and even if Bakugo's up now and he starts using cluster cowling, that's not going to be enough to make up for the fact that Deku doesn't have access to Gearshift right now. It'll help them both stay in the game and cover for each other, but they at least need Shoto here too. And Shoto is probably on his way to fight Dabi.
Yeah.
This is where Shoto needs to be. Like to the extent that it could end up being all three of them versus Shigaraki type thing, which I wouldn't mind that as long as we got there in a reasonable way, because we have this portal now, and I'm curious if Shigaraki is going to go through the portal, or if someone's coming through the portal for Shigaraki, or if it's just going to be like Kurogiri pulling up and being like, "What are your orders?" Something like that. Give him a moment to kind of flex his kingliness and be like, "All right, Kurogiri, this is what I want you to do." If it's going to be like, "Bring everybody here," something like that, mirror to. But, which damn, hey, Makia getting free.
Yep.
Man,
I think there's also.
I literally said that in VC the other day. I said, man, he coming back.
I think there's also a chance of Redestro coming back.
I need Redestro back.
Because they know where Maki is being held. So all they need to do is
there.
All they need to do is coordinate with him and have Kurogiri teleport some Twice clones to that location.
Yeah, this is why Kurogiri gets caught halfway through the story, because like he gives too much of an advantage to the villains.
Yeah, low key, I think there should be some Twice clones over there, because like I didn't get to say this on the stream yet, but like the fact that Twice clones got sent to UA is kind of wild. Like
No,
that
they're
many of
going.
them too. It's a swarm.
Mr. Worldwide.
Buy
Like
gold back,
twice.
changing all the
Yo,
battlefield. Nigga own the
it's
shit.
funny. It's funny because Horikoshi killed twice, and then he brought him back for the final war as like this like black Zetsu type like character, like white Zetsu. You know the white Zetsu in Naruto? That's twice right now. Like
No,
twice is the white
literally,
Zetsu.
he brought he brought twice as a ghost. You know what I mean? Like he didn't need. When you think about it as a writer, when you have a tool like twice, you don't need him to be alive. Literally, you don't. You just need his ability to change everything in your story. He was a weapon so big that even as the heroes could use him. You know what I mean? So
So
yeah, that's great writing.
there's one way I can see them kind of, and I emphasis on kind of, getting around this, and it's that
The
the
Happy
Twice
Man's
clones,
Parade.
yeah, the Twice clones made contact with Monoma.
Happy Man's Parade. Yeah, you already know what I was getting at. Yo, Coyote brought that up the other day in VC. He said, low key, Monoma, if Kurogiri really is there, like he touches him, he could get double and warp gate, go to every battlefield, and then have clones get other quirks as well. So like this could really get wild in a second.
Like,
Damn, Happy Minister, that's true. Damn.
Happy Man's Parade.
we got
You think
That's kind of a story breaker though. I'm not gonna lie, which is why it might not happen.
it like is and isn't, because like on one hand, like yeah, it's kind of wild, right? Like if you do that, then you
Think,
can
think
run up.
about yo. Think about how dark the aftermath is gonna be. They had to kill 1,000 Monomans, like just to stop them from being around.
Right. So it's like that is a little dark, but at the same time, you can kind of assume that a good chunk of the Monomas are gonna die. Which that's the real scary part, is that they're gonna like there's gonna be Monomas all over the place, and people are just gonna keep watching Monomas die. But I mean, that might be the trade-off needed to make sure that everything actually works out.
Damn. Oh, so many different directions, man.
All right. So with that though, I want to start wrapping things up, get people's final thoughts. Ponzu, are you still here?
yes, I'm still here.
Let me get your final thoughts, my guy.
Okay. Thank you for this new year, this new episode of the Church of MHA. Thank you people for coming. I'm happy to be back. And what can I say? It's a great start. We got Shigaraki, the original, the true, the son of the god of evil is back. Jesus, the evil Jesus is back. So I'm a happy man. I can't wait to see more of it. So love you all. See you. Bye.
All right. Tarnish.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year. You know what I'm saying? I'm just happy to see Brava back, to be honest. I'm just happy that, older characters that have left their mark, but not really left their mark are coming back. So now I can just spin the block on people and say Cultural Festival is still like a 10 out of 10 arc. And, everybody know I'm happy to see Shigaraki back. But I need him to like stay. You know what I'm saying? I think Hawks and All For One, they need to settle their little conflict so that he could get over here. So I can really see what's going to happen, because when All For One gets here, he's either going to take control back again on some sucker shit, or he's going to get bodied, or he might just, be on his I'm just watching what's going to happen type beat. Like, oh, I don't matter in this fight. Because he's going to rewind inevitably anyway. So we know All For One going to die, the real body. So I just need him to put his little final piece in so I can say goodbye to him. Because the Vestige is getting packed up. The Vestige is getting packed up by 2 people, yo. Technically, that's crazy.
Good.
2 personalities is coming at him. But yeah, we don't get a chapter till we got 14 days to the next chapter. So we're not gonna see y'all again until like near the end of the month. But grateful for y'all coming all the time. You know what I'm saying? That's it for me.
All right, Volk.
Quite an excellent way to return for My Hero Academia on both fronts, for the manga and the anime. Now, I am hoping that Horikoshi takes a long, extended break. I'm getting increasingly worried that he's not. He talked about having shoulder pain, and I think the latest author comment, not great. Ignore that.
Okay, I was like, wait.
Okay, so where was I? Yeah, manga. It was a short chapter, but there was a lot of good stuff. Of course, like the turnaround has officially happened. Like just Spinner, was like, you know what, just skip me. I need to handle this.
Okay, that's all right.
So,
all right, East.
You ready? Because when I close, I close.
They better be ready. Hope they ain't forget.
All right. Hope y'all ready now. Oh, let me rise up. First off, I can't believe it is our 4-year anniversary. That's fucking crazy to me. Yeah, believe that? We've been doing this fucking thing for 4 years. So we appreciate everybody who started with us from the ground up. That is quite legit insane to me. They've been here for this long, doing this shit this long. For real. But as far as the chapter goes, I definitely got to say, man, I'm so on my please. This nigga's back. As far as everything goes, you already know I got to say, Shigaraki, we staying steered and we staying in control for the rest of this thing because we at the end of this shit. Ain't no more fucking Melvin, Maguma rule this, that, and the other. Like, we got Shigaraki back. Thank the goddamn Lord. Cause boy knows I was hating that other shit. As far as I've been meaning to say this for a minute, but I get to finish. The third person I said was going to say whose hand it was Future Deku's hand, and some other people also agree with that. But it's because due to the scars, people say it was withered, this and other. Well, once again, Future Deku Nature from the future, extended way deep as an adult in the future, not like 1 year after this battle, like the right after the end of like the third year with a term or whatever. No, this is like you could tell by every stretch that Deku was definitely a matured and aged man. So, and it has little scars on his hand too. So that being that and the way it spoke, it was like, and the symbolism too, like I could see it definitely being like a future Deku, shit like that. That's why I wanted to sign that portion. But man, 4 years. I still can't believe y'all. I hope y'all been well. Happy New Year to everybody on that note. And with that being said, it's time to go ahead and close this out for one big finale. Y'all know that means y'all got like 5 seconds to turn the volume down. So I'm going to let you count now. Go ahead and get your 5, your 4, your 3, your 2s.
Let's go.
Man, what the fuck going on in this bitch, man? Enough of the sentimental shit. I'm trying to talk my shit. Nigga. Oh, man, I told you niggas so many fucking times. What was y'all just saying? Last time with your goofy asses? It's 1 year, man. It's over by the end of the year. He's Russian, this, that, and other. Nigga, we just got an actual main villain back, nigga. I told you he was coming back since day one, nigga. So I sleep when the math don't math, nigga. That mean the math don't math, nigga. 2 + 2 don't equal 16. Nigga, fuck is you talking about? And I told you my goal is come back since day one, since A1. You said he forgot about twice and he never gonna address it again. Well, guess what, nigga? Suck my dick. Suck this Jin Booby War, nigga. Sad Man Spray back in full effect, nigga. We everywhere all at once. I told you niggas he was coming back. You didn't want to fucking believe me, but guess what? The truth speaks, the panel speaking, nigga, because I don't gotta wait till it happen, wait till it happen. Guess what? We here, nigga. It's time. I told you niggas he was coming back. And look on my face when them 2 niggas finally fucking speak. And it's addressed in the most perfect way it could have possibly ever imagined, nigga. Because he finna cook the greatest meal I've ever eaten in my entire life, nigga. But you niggas ain't never trusted a nigga. Facts on that. You dig? my king back, nigga, my ring back, nigga. All I take is W's, nigga, because you know who the fuck we is. I said, you know who the fuck we is, nigga. Undefeated under East. Bitch. Oh, man, it feels so good to be back with y'all niggas again. I appreciate y'all for coming, man. 4 years and we still on running, and we gonna be here to the end, nigga. Shouts out to Horikoshi. Shouts out to all of you niggas coming time and time again, week after week, year after year, month after month. Damn. I love y'all niggas. You heard? Y'all be easy.
All right, everybody. Thanks the whole crew for pulling up. Just everybody pulling through. I appreciate every single one of you. Oh, Vault.
Yeah. So I can give my piece. All right. So it was a great chapter, great start of the year. I love having Shigaraki back. I think he's going to stay in the driver's seat. I think he's going to take his rightful place as the real Demon King that All For One is trying to make, as All For One is trying to claim for himself. I also expect Genta to pull up very soon because UA is falling, and like what's his quirk? He can create elasticity, and he can create like temporary pockets of air that stretch. And so I think the solution to UA falling is he's going to come in and he's going to create like basically a giant safety net for UA that's going to stop it from falling, at least for the time being. I also loved what they're doing with the anime. I love the OP. I love just the grim feeling of the war. They really nailed that. Horikoshi has shoulder pain. I hope he takes a break soon. Yada yada yada. But I think he is really building up to like the true intense climax of his series, and I can't wait for it. I can't wait to see how Shigaraki deals with All For One. There might still be a little bit of a tug of war there. I'm expecting things to get dicey, but it seems like the true end confrontation between Deku and Shigaraki, it's almost here. I can't wait to see it, and I just love the series so much, and I really like being along for the ride. So that's me.
All right. Appreciate everybody. Once again, appreciate your thoughts, Volt. All right, everybody. Looks like this part of the season is going to be adapted very well, so I'm looking forward to that. I'll see you guys in 2 weeks unless I come up with a reason to do a stream or put out a video sooner than that, in which case you'll be seeing me and I still won't be seeing you, but that's okay. I hope everybody has a wonderful day, is enjoying and having a productive start to their new year, and just want the best for everybody and good health. Hopefully everybody acquires better wealth and we move forward having just a good time. And I love this chapter. I love the direction the story is going. Having Shigaraki back in the driver's seat means that this year, especially because obviously it's no coincidence that Horikoshi dropped this chapter when he did. He's starting the year off with saying, like, just like every year when a new year starts, oh, it's the year of the rabbit. It's the year, this is the year of Shigaraki. All For One got to have his turn, and All For One has been saying, oh, it's going to be my turn. It's going to be my turn, and my turn's never going to end. His turn just ended. All For One has been saying all kinds of stuff. It's important to note that every plan All For One has, while many of them have gone well, they've gone well almost in spite of him. And in this case, what he thinks is going to be his plan going well is going to be Shigaraki overcoming him. And maybe his real plan is for Shigaraki to be there. Maybe he doesn't actually care which one of them is truly in control as long as the All For One virus continues going forward. I don't know for sure. But I do know that we're at a point where I could see Shigaraki even being saved and like self-destructing because he takes so much damage that his body just can't deal with it. And that's the true singularity breakpoint. Who knows? But I'm excited to see where this is going, because I don't think that Shigaraki as a character, even if he is saved emotionally, I don't think he should ever be physically saved. I think that there has to be, for him, a physical consequence, even if that means he detonates and wipes all the memories out and a little Tenko rolls out of the fleshy mound that is his corpse. So be it. Because wouldn't that be interesting if the latest ED basically pulled an Attack on Titan and like gave you one of the biggest keys to the finale with the ending of an ending? But who knows? So with that being said, I appreciate